Chapter 21. Adam versus Anya 2. A gust of wind swept through the warehouse, rustling the scattered debris and broken bodies left in Adam's wake. The slow, deliberate echo of Anya's clap faded into the silence, and the tension between them thickened like an electric storm. Adam rolled his shoulders, exhaling softly. His body barely showed signs of exertion, while Anya stood in front of him, eyes gleaming with that same dangerous spark. She didn't rush in. She didn't speak. She just moved. 1 second, she was standing there. The next, she was right in front of him. No warning, no sound, nothing. A blur of raw speed. Adam's body reacted before his mind even processed it. He leaned back just in time to avoid the first strike. A straight punch aimed at his face, carrying enough force to shatter bones. Her fist sliced through the air, missing his nose by a hair. Then came the explosion. Boom! The force behind her punch blasted through the empty space where Adam's head had been, sending a shockwave tearing through the ground behind him. Cracks spiderwebbed across the concrete floor, chunks of debris flying in all directions. So that's burst. Anya wasn't just fast. Her ability let her detonate force at the moment of impact, turning every strike into a concussive explosion. She twisted her hips, following up with a spinning kick. Adam barely had time to shift his weight before. Boom! The sheer force of her kick exploded outward, tearing through the air like a bomb had just gone off. The shockwave blasted Adam back, his feet skidding across the pavement as dust and debris swirled around him. Anya didn't let up. She was already moving again, using the momentum of her last attack to propel herself forward. A flurry of strikes, punches, kicks, elbows, all enhanced by burst. Boom! 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 Every impact sent out a shockwave, shattering crates, denting metal beams, shaking the very foundation of the warehouse. Adam weaved through the onslaught, dodging by the slimmest margins. His body moved on pure instinct, slipping past each attack with impossible precision. Then he struck back. The moment she overextended on a punch, he twisted around her and slammed a palm against her ribs. Bam! The force sent her skidding back, her boots carving trenches into the ground. But instead of flinching, she grinned. Not bad, she said, shaking off the hit.
Adam simirket.
You sure? You don't sound too confident. She launched at him again. A straight punch to his gut. Boom! Adam twisted just enough to let it graze past his ribs, feeling the explosion ripple through his coat. A low kick aimed at his knee. Boom! He hopped over it, countering with a sharp downward punch. Anya dodged, twisting away as her foot slammed into the ground. The impact created another concussive blast, launching her back like a bullet. Then, she vanished. For a split second, she was gone.
No footsteps.
No movement. Nothing. Adam's eyes barely caught the flicker of her presence before. Boom! A fist slammed into his side, detonating on impact. The shockwave sent him flying, his body smashing through wooden crates before tumbling across the ground. Dust filled the air. Silence. Anya exhaled, rolling her shoulders. Come on, boy. You can do better than that. A chuckle. Low. Amused. Then, a gust of wind. The dust cloud around the wreckage cleared instantly. Adam was already standing. He dusted off his coat, cracking his neck like he'd just woken up from a nap. Anya's eyes narrowed. She knew he was stronger than her, but this was something else. She clenched her fists. You're holding back.
Adam grinned.
Of course I am. What? You thought I was struggling?
Anya grovled.
Then she exploded forward. A barrage of attacks, each one enhanced by burst, each one aimed to end him.
Adam maç eder.
She threw a punch. He caught her wrist mid-motion, twisting it just enough to disrupt the explosion. She swung a kick. He stepped in, blocking it before it could detonate, absorbing the shockwave with a perfectly timed counter. They moved faster now, blow for blow. Her attacks shattered the ground. His counters sent ripples through the air. Every strike was met, every explosion neutralized. To the outside eye, they were blurs of motion, trading blows at speeds no normal human could perceive. Then,
Adam shifted.
it was subtle, a small change in his stance. Anya noticed too late. In an instant, his speed doubled.
No, tripled.
He ducked under a punch, spun behind her, and, crack, a precise strike to the back of her knee. Her balance wavered. Before she could recover, bam, a palm strike to her stomach. The force sent her flying. She smashed into the ground, coughing as the air was ripped from her lungs. Pain exploded through her body. She tried to stand, but then it hit her. The weight, the sheer pressure crashing down on her. A presence so overwhelming that for a second, she thought she was suffocating. Her breath caught in her throat. Her hands trembled. She knew Adam was stronger than her. She knew he had been holding back. But this was something else entirely. She could barely breathe. It was like staring at a force of nature, like standing in the presence of the family heads. Her entire body froze. Adam stood there, eyes glowing faintly in the dim warehouse light. His aura engulfed the space, swallowing everything whole. Anya had never felt something like this before. Raw, limitless, absolute. She tried to move, tried to fight, tried to do something, but her body wouldn't respond. For the first time in a long, long time, she felt fear. Adam tilted his head. "I think we're done here." He stepped forward. The pressure doubled. Anya gasped, her legs buckling under the weight of his presence. She had lost. Completely. And Adam, he was on a whole different level. Chapter 22. Joshua Jeremiah. Who the hell is he? Anya lay on the cold warehouse floor, her body aching, breath coming in sharp gasps. She couldn't move. No, she could move, but it was pointless. She had lost. Completely. Her amber eyes locked onto the young man standing a few feet away. His back turned to her as he strode toward the package they had come for. Her mind raced. What has she just witnessed? She had fought monsters before. Freaks. People who could punch through steel, lift cars, survive bullets to the head. But this was different. Who did I just face? Even though she couldn't see his face, she could tell he was young. Too young. 19? Maybe 20? But that didn't make sense. No one that young should be this powerful. Even if his ability was some kind of physical enhancement, there was a limit. Unless, her eyes widened. No way. Her mind flashed back to that one moment, the day the world shook. The day everything changed. Governments panicked. Superhuman organizations scrambled. The balance of power shifted. A new existence had appeared. One they classified as X-rank. Was it him? Had she just fought that guy? Her fingers curled into a fist as she pushed herself up, her body screaming in protest. "Stop! You can't touch that!" Adam didn't even glance at her. He didn't see her as a threat anymore. Why would he? She could barely stand. He reached down, pushing aside the wreckage of the crate Anya had already busted open, revealing a sleek black box underneath. It had a fingerprint lock. Adam grabbed it, his expression unreadable. "What's inside?" Anya gritted her teeth. "Listen, kid, you don't want to do this." Her voice was hoarse, strained. "You can't even open it. So just hand it over and we'll pretend this never happened. No one has to get hurt." She wasn't lying. She didn't care about the fight. The mission was the only thing that mattered. If she returned to Blackvale without that package, no, that wasn't an option.
Adam simirket.
He wasn't even looking at her anymore. "You say that like I wasn't planning to escalate things." He lifted the box, testing its weight. "If taking this means things get interesting, then I'm definitely taking it. So go tell your boss. I'll be at your next deal. And the next. And the next. Until I get what I want." Then he turned to leave. But after 2 steps, he paused, looked back over his shoulder. "And to prove you wrong about something else." His eyes flickered. For just a second, they shifted. Metallic. Inhuman. Like a machine had replaced them. Click. Anya's heart nearly stopped. The box unlocked. Adam popped the lid open and looked inside. His smirk vanished. His brows furrowed. The hell is your boss planning to do with this? Anya's breath caught in her throat. He knows what it is? She had no time to answer. A sudden voice cut through the tension. Everyone freeze. Police. Hands where I can see them. Both Adam and Anya snapped their heads toward the entrance. A young man stood there, barely 20, dark-skinned, gripping a gun like his life depended on it. His hands were steady, but his eyes flickered between them, calculating, terrified.
Adam siket.
TCH. He clicked his tongue. This just got annoying. Yeah, for you. The young man shot back, keeping the gun steady. Adam's lips curled into a smirk.
No.
For you. And then he moved. It wasn't speed. It was something beyond that. One moment, Adam was standing several feet away. The next, he was right in front of him. Joshua's breath caught in his throat. What? Before he could react, Adam's fingers wrapped around the barrel of the gun. SKKRRKK. Metal groaned. Bent. Shattered. The gun crumbled in Adam's grip like cheap plastic. Joshua's eyes widened in pure disbelief. His hands trembled, now gripping nothing but broken scraps. What the hell did I just see? His heart pounded in his chest. His mind raced. Who is this guy?
No.
What is he? His night had already taken a nosedive. But this was something else. Then, reality hit him like a freight train. The gun, his stolen gun, was gone. Not just useless, destroyed. He had broken into the police armory for that damn thing. He wasn't even supposed to be here. Damn, this was bad. Worse than bad. His whole plan was spiraling out of control. He had snuck out of the academy, ignoring orders, chasing down a lead on the Reaper Mafia family. The people who killed his family. The ones he swore to take down. He had spent years digging into them, pulling in others who had their own reasons to hate the Reapers, gathering whatever scraps of intel he could. And then, just when he was getting close, the Academy shut it all down, told him to stop, ordered him to let it go. He didn't. Tonight was supposed to be his big break. He got a tip. The Reapers were making a move. So he came here, alone. And now, instead of finding the Reapers, he had found this guy, this monster. Adam tilted his head, watching him. Aren't you a little young to be a cop? Joshua snapped out of his daze. He gritted his teeth. And Adam's smirk didn't fade. And I thought cops rolled with backup for stuff like this. Joshua clenched his fists. He had no answer for that. The kids from the academy? Anya muttered, brushing the dust off herself. I bet he's here against orders. Look, young man, just hand over the item, and I'll be out of your hair. I promise.
Adam bareli rited.
All right, she's still here. He had completely forgotten about her. But he wasn't interested. His focus was locked on the kid standing in front of him. Joshua. Adam stared at him for a long moment before his lips curled into a smirk. Interesting. With that, he turned and walked past Joshua, not sparing him another glance. As he passed Anya, he threw a casual remark over his shoulder. Till next time, Anya. I hope you'll be at the next deal. His voice carried a lazy confidence. I'd love to see you again. And just like that, he was gone. Chapter 23. Alice Dark One. Celine Blackveil's Wrath. So, you're telling me, you lost the package? Celine's voice was cold, too cold. It wasn't loud, yet it carried the weight of something heavy, something dangerous. Anya stood frozen, her head bowed, sweat dripping down her face like a broken faucet.
I'm sorry, mistress.
We were attacked out of nowhere. He was too strong. We were caught off guard. Celine exhaled slowly. The air itself seemed to shudder. I didn't ask if you were ambushed. Her voice remained calm, but the room felt like it was shrinking. I didn't ask if he was strong. She leaned forward slightly, the dim lighting casting sharp shadows on her face. Her crimson eyes gleamed like molten rubies, framed by long black lashes. Her midnight hair, silky yet wild, cascaded down her back, blending into the deep, form-fitting black dress that hugged her frame. The golden embroidery along its edges shimmered eerily, as if alive. "I asked," she repeated, her voice barely above a whisper. "Did you lose the package?" Anya's throat tightened. She knew there was no right answer, only consequences. But silence? That would be worse. I'm sorry, mistress," she whispered, not daring to look up. Celine sighed. The shadows around her twitched, then snapped. Dark tendrils lashed out like whips, wrapping around Anya in an instant. She was yanked off the ground, the inky restraints coiling around her like vipers, tightening. "Ah!" Anya screamed, her body convulsing in pain. "When I ask a question, I expect a direct answer," Celine murmured. "So I will ask again. Did you lose the package?" "Yes," Anya cried, her voice breaking. The shadows loosened, then disappeared. She hit the floor hard. Celine leaned back in her chair, resting her chin on one hand, her expression unreadable. "That's not what I wanted to hear," she mused, more to herself than to Anya. Then her gaze darkened. So Anya clenched her fists, shame burning in her chest. Celine watched her for a moment, then smirked slightly, resting her cheek against her knuckles. Pathetic. Celine's smirk didn't reach her eyes. She exuded a chilling grace, her posture relaxed yet radiating absolute dominance. Anya, still on the floor, felt the weight of her gaze pressing down on her like an unmovable force. Every fiber of her being screamed at her to get up, to show strength. But her limbs wouldn't cooperate. The pain from the shadow's grip still lingered, leaving a dull ache in her bones. Celine let the silence stretch, tapping a perfectly manicured finger against the armrest of her chair. Each tap echoed in the vast, dimly lit room, like the ticking of a countdown. Then she spoke again. "Tell me about him." Anya swallowed hard. I couldn't see his face clearly. He was young, probably no older than 20. But his strength? She hesitated, recalling the terrifying moment Adam crushed the gun with his bare hands like it was made of paper. It wasn't normal. Even for an X-rank superhuman, he was beyond anything I've ever seen. Celine's crimson eyes narrowed. Did he say anything?
Anya nodded hesitantly.
He said he would be coming for the next deal. And the next until he gets what he wants. Celine chuckled softly. It was an amused sound, but there was an unmistakable sharpness beneath it, like a blade hidden beneath silk. "Bold," she murmured. Her fingers trailed along the golden embroidery of her dress, the dim candlelight reflecting off the delicate patterns as if they were alive. Then, she leaned forward slightly, eyes gleaming like a predator who had just spotted its prey. "And tell me, Anya," Celine purred, "do you think he's bluffing?" Anya's breath hitched. The memory of Adam's sheer power, his confidence, no, not confidence, certainty, flashed through her mind. She shook her head.
"No, mistress."
He meant every word. Celine smiled. It was slow, deliberate, dangerous. "Good." She stood, and as she did, the shadows in the room responded to her movement, slithering along the floor like living creatures. "Then let's give him a warm welcome." Elsewhere, Joshua sat on his bed, staring at the ceiling, his mind still replaying everything that had happened tonight. It was unreal. The speed, the raw strength, the way that guy had crushed his gun like it was nothing. But the thing that really messed with his head? The gun. When that guy walked past him, he barely even felt the touch, just a slight brush against his side. But when he snapped out of it, the stolen gun was somehow back in its holster, untouched. And yet, the destroyed one was still on the ground where it had fallen. Two identical guns. What the hell did that even mean? He let out a shaky breath, feeling both relieved and terrified. Relieved because he could return the gun without getting caught. Terrified because he might have just gotten noticed by someone he really shouldn't have. "Oi, you good?" Joshua blinked, snapped out of his thoughts. His dorm mate stood by the door, arms crossed, staring at him like he'd grown a second head. "I called you like 3 times. What's up?" Joshua forced a chuckle, rubbing the back of his neck. Nothing. Just a long night. His dorm mate raised an eyebrow. Yeah? Well, whatever it is, don't let it fry your brain. You look like you've seen a ghost. Joshua didn't respond, because honestly, a ghost would have been easier to deal with. Oh, and before I forget, she's calling you. His dorm mate tossed the words over his shoulder before flopping onto his bed. Joshua sighed. No need to ask who. He already knew. Dragging himself up, he stepped into the dimly lit corridor. And there she was, Alice Dark. She leaned against the wall, arms crossed, one leg casually propped up. The flickering hallway light cast shadows over her sharp features. High cheekbones, full lips, and piercing silver eyes that held a constant air of mischief. Her jet-black hair, cut just above her shoulders, had a slight wave to it, a few strands falling over her face, adding to her effortless, almost intimidating charm. She wasn't overly tall, but she carried herself with the kind of confidence that made her presence impossible to ignore. Dressed in her usual dark attire, a fitted leather jacket over a simple black top and ripped jeans, she looked every bit as untouchable as her reputation suggested. A silver chain dangled from her belt loop, catching the dim light as she shifted slightly. She glanced at him, her lips curling into a smirk. Took you long enough. Chapter 24. Alice Dark 2. Took you long enough. Joshua frowned, rubbing his temples as he approached. Not tonight, Alice.
I'm exhausted.
His voice was flat, drained. After everything he had seen, no survived, he had no patience for her usual games. Alice raised an eyebrow, arms still crossed. What are you talking about? All you had to do was waltz in, grab the Reaper Mafia guys and walk out. Sounds easy enough to me. And you're no amateur, Joshua. You can handle yourself. Joshua let out a bitter chuckle, shaking his head. I wish it was that simple. He looked at her, eyes shadowed with something Alice rarely saw in him, fear. I saw a monster tonight, someone faster than I could even register. Someone who crushed a gun with his bare hands like it was paper. If he wanted me dead, I wouldn't be standing here. He just let me go, like I wasn't even worth his time. He turned away, already done with the conversation. I'm out, Alice. I don't want anything to do with this anymore. Alice's expression hardened. That didn't make sense. She had planned everything down to the second. The Black Veil Syndicate should have been gone by the time Joshua arrived. No supers should have been anywhere near that scene. Her mind raced, analyzing every possibility. Who was this guy? Why was he there? And more importantly, how did he slip through her calculations? Her silver eyes darkened. Wait! Joshua stopped. Tell me everything you saw tonight. Her tone left no room for argument. And from the way she was looking at him now, Joshua knew. He had no choice but to answer. Elsewhere, Adam turned the small orb over in his palm, its surface dark and smooth like polished obsidian. It was unnervingly cold, yet it felt alive, like something inside was waiting, watching. Suddenly, a faint glow flickered across its surface, and golden letters appeared in front of him, floating in the air like a system notification. Devourer's Orb. Status: unactivated. A relic of unknown origin, capable of absorbing and assimilating energy, skills, and even life essence. Its full potential remains dormant until properly awakened. Handle with caution. Adam's eyes narrowed. A Devourer's Orb, huh? The power locked within this tiny object was enough to change the balance of an entire battlefield. But why was that woman after this thing? I just have to make sure it stays that way, Adam muttered, his gaze lingering on the dark orb for a moment longer before shifting to the horizon. The early morning sun painted the sky in shades of orange and pink, signaling the start of a new day. With a quiet sigh, he tucked the orb away and turned to head home. Meanwhile, in a quiet, open training ground, Gloria stood with her arms crossed, watching the twins closely. The cool morning breeze ruffled her hair, but her sharp gaze remained fixed on them. All right, first step in your training, basic endurance, she announced, tossing each of them a weighted vest. Strap these on. Arya barely caught hers and immediately frowned. Wait, hold on. Why does this feel like a bag of bricks? She struggled to even lift it. Alfred, on the other hand, grinned as he strapped his on with ease. This is awesome. It makes me feel like one of those warriors in ancient training montages. Gloria smirked. That's the spirit, Alfred. Arya, quit complaining and put it on. Arya groaned but obeyed, nearly toppling over as she secured the vest. Ugh. I hate this already. Good. Now start running. 10 laps around the field, Gloria ordered. 10? Arya's eyes widened in disbelief. You're kidding, right? Nope. Get moving. Alfred was already off, dashing ahead like he was born for this. Come on, Arya. You'll get used to it. Arya shot him a glare before begrudgingly running after him. I swear, I better get something good out of this. Gloria watched them with an amused expression. Today was just the beginning. Arya huffed and puffed as she dragged her feet across the training ground, her entire body screaming in protest. Meanwhile, Alfred was still going strong, his pace steady and determined. This is torture. Arya wheezed, barely keeping up. Gloria, standing at the center with her arms crossed, sighed. If you have enough energy to complain, you have enough to run faster. Arya groaned but pushed forward, though her movements were sluggish. Alfred, on the other hand, was grinning. Come on. Auntie, you don't want me to lap you, do you? Arya shot him a tired glare. If I wasn't dying, I'd trip you. After what felt like an eternity to Arya, they finally completed the 10 laps. She collapsed onto the grass, arms spread wide, panting heavily. I think my soul left my body. Alfred, still standing, stretched his arms above his head. That was fun. What's next? Gloria smirked. Glad you asked. Push-ups. 50. Arya's head shot up. Excuse me?
Alfred grinned.
Easy. Gloria crouched beside Arya, her smirk growing. Do you think warriors get stronger by lying in the grass? Get up. Arya groaned again but forced herself onto her hands and knees. She barely managed 5 push-ups before her arms started shaking. Alfred, on the other hand, was already at 20, moving with ease. This isn't fair.
Arya mattered.
Gloria chuckled. Life isn't fair. Keep going. The morning training continued with sit-ups, squats, and more endurance exercises. By the time they were done, Arya was sprawled on the ground again, utterly drained. I can't feel my legs, she mumbled. And I don't want to be a warrior. Alfred wiped some sweat off his forehead but was still standing strong. That was great. Can we do this every morning? Arya turned her head weakly toward him. You're insane. Gloria laughed. All right, that's enough for today. Go get some food and rest. Tomorrow we start proper training. Arya let out a dramatic groan. Alfred pumped his fist in excitement. Gloria simply smiled, knowing this was only the beginning. Chapter 25, Family Reunion 1. Arya dragged herself into the house, still feeling the burn from training. The moment she saw Adam in the kitchen, she let out a dramatic groan. She's trying to kill me. You know I'm not good with physical exercises, and yet the Ice Queen is forcing it on me. She whined, slumping against the doorframe. Adam didn't even look up from what he was doing. Good morning to you too, Arya. She grumbled under her breath and stomped off to her room. Gloria walked in right after, her posture relaxed despite the morning workout. Alfred followed, drenched in sweat but grinning like he'd just won a prize. Morning, Adam, Alfred greeted, his voice full of energy. And before you ask, yes, I won against Arya today. Adam chuckled at his little brother's excitement. Good for you. Alfred pumped his fist before heading to the bathroom to freshen up. As Adam focused back on the meal, he glanced at Gloria. So, how's life as an aunt? Gloria smiled, but there was a wistful sigh that followed. It's nice, actually. I won't lie.
Adam simirked.
See? Not so bad. Wonder why you didn't just go for it from the start. Gloria leaned against the counter and gave him a pointed look. Like I've said before, It was your father's. My father's wish, Adam finished for her, glancing up with a knowing expression. Yeah, but here you are. Gloria shook her head, but there was amusement in her eyes. They worked in comfortable silence for a while, the only sounds being the sizzle of food and the occasional clink of utensils. Then, as Adam stirred the pot in front of him, Gloria spoke again. So, how did your little run-in with the Black Veil guys go? Adam didn't answer right away. He simply finished what he was doing before leaning against the counter. Interesting, to say the least, he said. Had to deal with some pests, but nothing too troublesome. Gloria raised an eyebrow. You got what you needed? A smirk played on Adam's lips. Yeah, and I got something else, too. Gloria frowned. Something else?
Adam nodded.
I'll show you later. Gloria narrowed her eyes slightly, but she didn't push further. Instead, she grabbed the plates and helped him set the table. Once everything was ready, Adam wiped his hands on a cloth and turned toward the hallway. All right, let's get the twins before Arya passes out in her room. Gloria chuckled. I give her 5 more minutes before she tries sneaking a nap. Adam smirked as he called out, Arya, Alfred, food's ready. From the bathroom, Alfred's voice rang out. On my way. From her room, Arya groaned. Ugh, coming. Gloria shook her head, amused. Every single morning.
Adam chuckled.
And you love it. She didn't deny it. The dining table was set, the aroma of warm food filling the air. Adam sat down first, while Gloria poured tea into their cups. A moment later, Alfred arrived, freshly showered and still drying his hair with a towel. Arya dragged herself in behind him, plopping into her seat like she had just fought a war. Finally, real food, Arya muttered as she grabbed a piece of toast. You act like I starved you, Gloria said, rolling her eyes. Arya gave her a deadpan look. You did starve me. Training on an empty stomach is a crime. Alfred, already halfway through his first plate, grinned. I don't know, I think it was fun. Arya shot him a glare. That's because you enjoy suffering. Adam chuckled as he took a bite. All right, enough complaining. Just eat. For a while, the room was filled with the sounds of utensils clinking and the occasional satisfied hum from Alfred. Arya, despite her earlier complaints, was eating like she hadn't seen food in days. Then, as Gloria refilled her tea, she glanced at Adam. So, about that thing you said earlier, what exactly did you get from the Black Veil guys? Arya and Alfred both perked up at that. Wait, you ran into Black Veil? Alfred asked, setting his cup down. Of course he did, Arya muttered, wiping her mouth. He has a talent for walking into dangerous situations. Adam leaned back in his chair, his fingers tapping against his cup. It wasn't intentional. They were just in the way. And, Gloria pressed, her gaze sharp. Adam smirked slightly before reaching into his pocket. He pulled out a small, dark orb and set it on the table. The room went silent. Gloria's expression shifted, her eyes narrowing. That's a Devourer's orb, Adam confirmed. Arya and Alfred exchanged confused looks. And that is? Alfred asked. Gloria exhaled. It's an artifact, a dangerous one.
Adam nodded.
It's unactivated, though. Right now, it's just a useless rock. Arya leaned forward, poking the orb with her fork. So, what does it do? Gloria's gaze didn't leave the orb. It absorbs. Absorbs what? Alfred asked. Gloria looked at him. Everything. Silence. Arya slowly pulled her fork back. Okay. That's creepy.
Adam simirked.
Don't worry. As long as it stays unactivated, it's harmless. Gloria wasn't convinced. And if it does activate? Adam's expression darkened slightly. Then we have a problem.
Alfred frowned.
So what are you going to do with it? Adam took the orb back and tucked it into his pocket. I'll handle it. Gloria sighed, rubbing her temples. I swear. You make things more complicated every day.
Adam grinned.
Keeps life interesting. Arya groaned. More like stressful.
Alfred Laukhet.
Well, at least breakfast was nice. A breakfast without me? The room froze. Adam slowly raised his head, already recognizing that voice. Meanwhile, Gloria's face went pale. She knew what was coming next. Before anyone could react, she shrieked, taking a step back as if preparing to bolt. Adam, on the other hand, remained calm, resting his chin on his palm as he looked toward the entrance. "Granny," he said, a smirk tugging at his lips. "You figured it out all by yourself." Standing at the doorway, dressed in an elegant yet imposing outfit, was none other than Tadia Williams, the president of the Federation and Adam's grandmother. Gloria forced a sheepish smile, turning to face her. "Hello, mother. Long time no see." Tadia's sharp gaze landed on her daughter, eyes narrowing. "You brat. You've been away for too long, and you hid the existence of my brother's children from me." Gloria stiffened. "You," Tadia continued, voice cold, "are in so much trouble." Then, just as quickly, her expression shifted. The cold glare melted into a warm smile as she turned to Adam and the twins. "But what can I say? One of the perks of being president," she said, stepping inside like she owned the place. Arya and Alfred exchanged a glance, then turned to Adam. "We're so screwed, aren't we?" Arya whispered. Adam just sighed. "Yeah." Chapter 26. Family Reunion 2. "So, you must be Adam. And that means you're Alfred, and you're Arya." Tadia's sharp eyes swept over the twins as she called their names. Both nodded instinctively, feeling the weight of her gaze. Gloria, still shaken, took a deep breath before forcing herself to speak. "Mom, why are you here?" The moment the words left her mouth, she regretted them. Tadia's gaze snapped to her like a hawk spotting prey. "You have some nerve asking me that," she said, voice cold. "After you hid my own grandchildren from me all these years?" Gloria flinched, gripping the edge of the table. "I was just following my brother's wish." Her voice was quieter now, eyes downcast. Tadia scoffed. "And how did that work out for you?" Silence. "Arya almost died because of that brat Mark," Tadia continued, her voice filled with restrained fury. "Alfred would have followed if not for Arya awakening at the right time. And let's not forget Adam, who had to step in and clean up the mess." Gloria swallowed hard, guilt tightening her throat. Adam exhaled and leaned back in his chair, meeting his grandmother's gaze. "That's enough." Tadia paused. "We're fine," Adam said, his voice calm but firm. "That's what matters. The past is done. What's important now is the present, and the future." He smiled slightly, looking at the woman who had stormed into their lives the moment she learned of them. She wasn't here out of duty. She was here because she cared. Maybe his family hadn't abandoned them after all. They just never knew. Tadia sighed, pulling out a chair and taking a seat. She wasn't the president here, just a grandmother. "So, what's the occasion?" she asked, serving herself like she owned the place. "Nothing much," Adam said, a small smile tugging at his lips. "Just happy to finally have a proper family meal again. It's been a while." He didn't say it, but the memories flickered in his mind. His parents, the warmth of their voices, the laughter that used to fill the house. Tadia hummed as she glanced at the twins. "Well, now that you two have awakened," Alfred grinned at the mention of his power, while Arya just crossed her arms. Then Tadia turned to Adam. "And you? I'm not quite sure about yours yet." "Technopathy," Gloria chimed in, keeping her eyes down, avoiding her mother's gaze. Tadia looked at her for a moment before shifting her attention back to Adam. "I'm afraid that's not completely true." Adam tensed slightly, but Tadia just kept watching him. His aura was restrained, but she could feel it. Something deeper, something much bigger than technopathy. "I thought your ability had something to do with raw strength," Alfred added, oblivious. Smack. Arya pinched him hard, making him yelp. "Think before you talk, idiot." Adam sighed, shaking his head. He wasn't trying to keep secrets forever, but the supernatural world was complicated, and he was still figuring things out. Arya understood that. The others, not so much. Tadia, however, caught everything. The hesitation. The glance between him and Arya. So, a double awakener, huh? She mused, her sharp eyes narrowing. That would explain the outburst during your awakening. But, she paused, studying him carefully. Even that's not quite it, is it? Adam didn't answer. Tadia smirked, leaning back in her chair. Well, keep your secrets for now. I'm not in a rush. After all, I've got all the time in the world with you brats. Gloria finally lifted her head. And what about your job as president? The moment the words left her mouth, she regretted it. Tadia turned to her slowly. Gloria immediately dropped her gaze back to her plate. The rest of the meal passed in a comfortable rhythm. Plates clinking, quiet conversations, and the occasional jab between Alfred and Arya. Adam mostly listened, lost in thought. Tadia was here now, and that changed things. Soon, the table was nearly empty, only a few scraps left. Gloria stood up first, gathering the plates, but Adam beat her to it. I got it, he said, stacking the dishes. Gloria gave him a look but didn't argue. Meanwhile, Alfred stretched with a loud yawn, patting his stomach. Man, that was good, he said, slouching in his chair. I could sleep for days. Then get up and help? Arya muttered, smacking the back of his head. Adam chuckled before glancing at Tadia, who was finishing the last sip of her drink. He exhaled. Now was as good a time as any. Grandma, he said, placing a hand on the table. There's something I need to ask you. Tadia's brow lifted slightly, but she leaned forward, resting her chin on her hand. Go on. Adam reached into his pocket and pulled out a small, dark orb. It looked like nothing special, just a pitch-black sphere, completely still. But Tadia's expression changed the moment she saw it. Where did you get that? Her voice wasn't harsh, but there was an edge to it. From some Blackvale guys, Adam said, setting the orb on the table between them. It's unactivated, but I know what it is. Tadia studied him for a long moment, then looked back at the orb. The Devourer's orb, she murmured. The room felt quieter. Even Alfred and Arya were paying attention now. What should I do with it? Adam asked, his fingers tapping lightly against the table. Tadia didn't answer immediately. Instead, she picked up the orb, rolling it between her fingers. After a moment, she placed it back down and met Adam's gaze. Keep it, she said simply.
Adam Blinket.
Keep it. It's safer here than anywhere else, Tadia said. In the wrong hands, it's a disaster waiting to happen. But in yours, I trust it won't be misused.
Adam ehalet, nodding.
He wasn't exactly excited to have something like this in his possession, but if Tadia thought it was best, he'd listen. It's safe here, she said simply, leaning back in her chair. If you hand it over to the wrong person, it could cause problems. And knowing Celine Blackvale, she scoffed. I'll have a chat with her. Adam wasn't surprised. He knew Celine. She wasn't the type to go through proper channels to get what she wanted. If she was after the orb, there was a reason. Tadia smirked. Don't look so serious, kid. You'll give yourself wrinkles. Adam sighed, rubbing his temple. Yeah. Alfred leaned over, staring at the orb with interest. So, what does it do exactly? Tadia just smiled, her eyes glinting with something unreadable. Let's just say, it's better that you never find out. Chapter 27. Leaving for the Academy. While we are on this subject, there is an academy for superhumans. If you are interested, you lots can go there. Tadia said, looking at her grandchildren. Tadia leaned back in her chair, watching the twins' excitement with a small smirk. Good. Then get ready. We're going to the academy right now. Arya's eyes widened. Wait, right now? No warning. You want me to send an invitation first? Tadia scoffed. Life doesn't wait, kid. Alfred, on the other hand, was already on his feet, practically buzzing with excitement. Let's go. I want to see what kind of people are there. Adam chuckled, shaking his head. At least let them pack a few things first. Tadia waved a hand dismissively. Fine, 10 minutes. But before that, there's something you all need to understand. Her tone shifted, becoming more serious, and everyone fell silent. I'm not hiding the fact that you're my grandkids, she said, looking directly at them. In the normie world, that means the paparazzi will be on your necks. In the supernatural world, every damn faction will have their eyes on you. Gloria tensed but didn't say anything. Tadia continued, her voice firm. And let's not forget your maternal family. Now that the world knows about you, they'll come sniffing around. Adam's expression darkened slightly at that, but he remained silent. Tadia's gaze sharpened. But listen to me and listen well. You may have their name, but you are Williams by blood. There is no way in hell I'm giving you up to them. Arya swallowed hard. Alfred frowned, looking between Adam and Tadia. Adam exhaled through his nose. Well, that's one way to make a statement. Tadia smirked. I always make my stance clear. Adam stretched, rolling his shoulders. All right then, I'll get their stuff ready. He turned to the twins. Pack light. You're not going on vacation. Arya groaned but got up, dragging herself toward her room. Alfred was already halfway there. As Adam watched them leave, he looked back at Tadia. You really think their other family is going to make a move? Tadia's smirk faded. They will. It's only a matter of time. Adam clenched his jaw slightly. He had no love for that side of the family. If they came knocking, well, he'd be ready. The house buzzed with activity as Arya and Alfred scrambled to pack their things. Gloria moved around, helping where she could, but it was clear her mind was elsewhere. Adam, meanwhile, stood by the doorway, arms crossed, silently taking everything in. Tadia, as usual, remained composed, checking the time on her watch. All right, that's enough. Let's move. The group stepped out of the house, only to be met with a line of sleek black cars stretching down the street. The sight was almost surreal. The moment Adam saw them, he let out a small sigh, rubbing the back of his head. Really, Grandma? He asked, raising a brow. Before Tadia could respond, Gloria cut in. This is exactly what she meant when she said she doesn't plan on hiding you. Adam exhaled through his nose and looked back at the house, the place he and his siblings had called home. The familiarity of it, the memories inside, all of it felt distant now. He knew, without a doubt, that they wouldn't be coming back. I guess this is it then, he muttered to himself. The moment didn't last long. The presence of the cars, and more importantly, the president of the country standing right there, had already drawn attention. Neighbors peeked out from their windows, some whispering, others outright staring. People who knew Adam, Arya, and Alfred watched with wide eyes, confusion written all over their faces. Wait, Adam knows the president. Why are there so many cars? Who are they? I thought they were just regular kids. The murmurs grew louder, but Adam paid them no mind. He could already feel the weight of the attention settling on them. Tadia, noticing his expression, placed a hand on his shoulder. Get used to it, kid. This is your life now. Adam glanced at her before looking at his siblings, who were already staring at the luxury cars in awe. He let out a low chuckle. Yeah, no turning back now. This way, Madam President. A suited man respectfully guided Tadia to her car, opening the door for her. She stepped in without hesitation, her presence as commanding as ever. Nearby, Adam snapped out of his thoughts when he heard a voice directed at him. This way. He turned to see a woman standing beside one of the cars, motioning for him to follow. She had a composed look, dressed in a crisp, professional suit. I'm Sarah, she introduced herself smoothly. I'll be assisting you for the time being, handling any information or logistics you might need in your operations. If you need anything, just ask. Adam studied her for a second before giving a small nod. Got it. Without another word, he stepped into the car, and within moments, the convoy pulled away from the neighborhood, leaving behind a stunned audience. The street, which had been bustling with whispers and side glances before, now erupted into full-blown chatter. Did you see that? The president herself was here. And those cars, there were at least 10 of them. Who are those kids? I knew something was off about Adam and his siblings. No way they're just normal. Wait, hold on. Does that mean Adam is related to the president? The speculation only grew wilder from there. Some people pulled out their phones, trying to find any news, while others simply stood there, trying to process what they had just witnessed. Inside one of the houses, an older woman shook her head, muttering, "I always knew there was something special about that boy, but this is on another level." Back in the car, Adam leaned against the window, watching the city blur past. He could already tell his life was never going to be the same again. Chapter 28. Westward Academy. After hours on the road, the convoy finally slowed as they approached their destination, Westward Academy. At first glance, it looked like any other elite private school. Towering Gothic-style buildings, pristine courtyards, and a massive wrought iron gate with the academy's crest embedded in the center. It had a reputation as one of the most prestigious schools in the country, where only the best of the best were admitted. As the cars rolled to a stop at the entrance, Alfred and Arya's jaws practically hit the floor. "Wait, this is the school?" Alfred blurted out, pressing against the car window. Arya was equally stunned. "Westward Academy. No wonder they never take just anyone. I always thought it was some impossible academic standard, but its ability," Adam finished for her, now understanding the true reason behind the school's exclusivity. The gates slowly swung open, and as the convoy pulled inside, the trio took in the sheer scale of the place. The campus stretched far beyond what they could see, with towering structures and training grounds subtly integrated into the landscape. This wasn't just a school, it was a fortress. The moment the cars stopped, a group of faculty members was already waiting for them. At the center stood Dean Elias Wren, an older man with sharp eyes, neatly combed silver hair, and a posture that radiated authority. He was flanked by several teachers, all standing with respectful anticipation. When Tadia stepped out of her car, the air around them seemed to shift. Even without her powers on display, her presence alone was overwhelming. To them, she wasn't just the president. She was one of the most powerful superhumans on the planet. Dean Wren was the first to step forward. "Madam President," he greeted with a polite bow of his head. "It's an honor to welcome you to Westward Academy." Tadia gave a small nod. "I appreciate the welcome, Dean Wren. I trust everything is running smoothly here." "As always," he responded with a composed smile before his gaze flickered to the trio behind her. His eyes lingered on Adam for a moment longer than necessary, a subtle curiosity passing through them. "And I assume these are the new students?" Tadia smirked slightly. "That's right. These two," she gestured at Arya and Alfred, "will be enrolling. As for him," she tilted her head toward Adam, "he's just here for now." Dean Wren's gaze didn't waver. He already knew there was more to the story, but he didn't press. Instead, he turned to the twins. "Well then, welcome to Westward Academy." His voice was calm, but there was a weight to his words. "You should know, this is not a place where names or status will protect you. Only your ability will determine your standing here." Alfred, for once, was silent. Arya swallowed hard but nodded. Adam simply crossed his arms, watching everything unfold. He had a feeling this place was going to be a whole different world. "I don't think you understand who these kids are." A smooth, teasing voice rang out from the car. Gloria stepped out, arms crossed, a wicked grin on her face as she eyed Dean Wren. "They're the grandchildren of the president. Children of the strongest couple this world has ever known." The moment she said it, the air shifted. The faculty members stiffened. A few teachers exchanged nervous glances. Some of the students watching from a distance inhaled sharply, whispers breaking out among them. Dean Wren, on the other hand, visibly tensed. Gloria's grin widened. "So I think your little rule about status not matching might not apply to them." She tilted her head mockingly. "Oh, and by the way, my mom just met them today, so guess what? They're her favorites now." Saying that in front of her, She let out a low chuckle. Not the smartest move. A bead of sweat formed on the dean's forehead as he processed what she had just revealed. At first, he had assumed they were some newly awakened kids, orphans maybe, picked up by the president on one of her humanitarian missions. A fresh batch of talent for Westward Academy. Nothing more. But now, he took another look at them. Arya's sharp eyes, Alfred's strong jawline, Adam's quiet yet overwhelming presence. And then it hit him. The resemblance. His breath caught in his throat as his gaze darted to Tadia. She was watching him with an unreadable expression. Calm, unbothered. But he knew that look. It meant one thing. Try anything funny with my grandkids, and you won't just lose your job. You'll lose your life. Dean Wren quickly swallowed hard and lowered his head in a deep bow. I apologize for my earlier words. I meant no disrespect. Tadia didn't even acknowledge the apology. She simply waved her hand dismissively. Enough of this. Let's continue this discussion in your office. The school still needs to function properly, doesn't it? And she was right. Ever since she arrived, the entire academy had been on edge. Students had stopped training. Teachers were too cautious in their movements. The presence of one of the strongest superhumans on the planet had turned the entire school into a battlefield of silence and tension. Dean Wren straightened himself, his expression now composed. Of course. This way, Madam President. And with that, they proceeded forward, leaving behind a stunned and speechless crowd. As the group walked toward the main building, the tension lingered in the air like an unspoken storm. And then the whispers began. They're her grandkids? No way. I thought they were just some new recruits. That guy, Adam, right? He looks exactly like his father. Not just him. The girl too. And the other one. That has to be Alfred. The twins. Their parents are monsters. And now they're here? A few students shivered at the realization. One of the older students, a third year with sharp eyes, scoffed. TCH. Just because they're related to them doesn't mean they're strong. Another student, one who had a better understanding of reality, laughed dryly. That's a nice thought, but let's be real. With parents like that and a grandmother like her, they're definitely monsters too. A few teachers, standing near the entrance, exchanged hushed conversations. Do you think they inherited their parents' abilities? Obviously. But how strong are they? I'd rather not find out firsthand. What do you think the other factions will do now that they're here? Who knows? But one thing's for sure, this school just became the center of attention. Some students were watching from the upper floors of the building, their gazes filled with a mixture of curiosity, fear, and, for some, excitement. We finally have some real legends in the academy. Legends? They haven't done anything yet. They don't have to. Their very existence is already enough. Somewhere in the crowd, a smirk formed on one student's face. Well, this year just got interesting. Chapter 29, Evaluation. The office was massive. Dark wooden shelves lined the walls, filled with ancient books and records. A grand desk sat at the center, with a wide window behind it overlooking the academy grounds. Everything about the room screamed power and prestige, but right now, the tension inside was suffocating. Dean Elias Wren sat at his desk, maintaining a composed expression despite the invisible weight pressing down on him. Across from him sat Tadia, arms crossed, completely at ease, while Gloria leaned against the wall, looking amused. Arya, Alfred, and Adam stood. A few faculty members stood off to the side, waiting, but no one dared to speak first. Then Tadia exhaled softly. All right, let's get to the point. Dean Wren straightened, nodding. Of course, we'll need to discuss accommodations, resources, and their integration into the academy. His gaze flickered toward Arya and Alfred. They will, of course, be provided with the best dormitory arrangements. They're not staying in the dorms. Tadia's voice was casual, but there was no room for discussion. The dean hesitated. I understand that, but all students are required to. Tadia leaned forward slightly, resting an elbow on the armrest of her chair. I don't give a damn about the rules, Ren. Silence. The dean swallowed hard. The teachers in the room visibly stiffened. My grandkids will have whatever they need. Their safety is your top priority. Tadia's eyes locked onto the dean's. Do I make myself clear? Dean Ren felt a chill run down his spine. He nodded. Crystal clear. Tadia leaned back, satisfied. Gloria chuckled from the side. Damn, that was fast. Arya and Alfred exchanged glances. They hadn't even said a word, and their accommodations were already being handled at a level beyond what any student could hope for. Dean Ren cleared his throat, trying to regain his composure. Very well. I will ensure they are provided with private living arrangements within the academy grounds. He turned to Arya and Alfred. You will still be required to follow academic guidelines, attend classes, and train. That much cannot be compromised. Arya nodded. That's fine.
Alfred shrugged.
As long as no one annoys me, I'm good. The dean then turned his gaze toward Adam. And you? You're not enrolling, but will you be staying?
Adam simirked.
Nope. I'm not staying. I have things to do. Ren frowned slightly but didn't question it. Something about Adam unsettled him. He wasn't sure if it was the way the boy carried himself or the unreadable look in his eyes, but it was enough to put him on edge. Instead, he moved on. There is one final step before their enrollment is complete. Tadia raised an eyebrow. And that is? The dean clasped his hands together. All new students must go through an evaluation. Arya's eyes narrowed slightly. Evaluation. Dean Ren nodded. We need to check your abilities, your rank, and most importantly, he paused, a small smirk forming on his face. You'll need to spar against other students. Alfred's eyes lit up. Oh? Now that sounds fun. Arya frowned. Is this really necessary? Dean Ren met her gaze. You may be the grandchildren of the president, but at Westward Academy, power is what truly speaks. Your classmates will need to see where you stand. A quiet hum of anticipation filled the room. Then, Gloria laughed. Oh, this is going to be good. The group stepped out of the office, making their way through the academy's massive halls. The tension from earlier had settled, but an unspoken energy still lingered in the air. As they reached the training grounds, the scenery shifted. What looked like a standard campus courtyard opened into a sprawling, high-tech battlefield. Towering walls lined with observation platforms surrounded the area, and reinforced sparring rings stretched out in every direction. Some were traditional arenas with stone flooring, while others were sleek metallic surfaces designed for ability users. Beyond the rings, specialized training equipment filled the space, gravity chambers, strength testing pillars, and even moving target drones floating in midair. A separate section housed the academy's sports teams, where students in athletic gear sprinted across the field, practicing with a speed and power that far surpassed normal humans. Alfred's eyes widened. He could feel his heartbeat quicken as he took everything in. Holy shit, he muttered, practically pressing his face against the glass railing that overlooked the field. His fingers twitched with excitement. This place is insane. Arya gave a low whistle, equally impressed, though she didn't voice it as loudly as her brother. Adam, as usual, just glanced around with his hands in his pockets, but even he had to admit, the scale of this place was something else. Alfred turned to the dean, practically bouncing on his feet. Can we use this place anytime? Dean Ren gave a small nod. Students have designated training hours, but yes, you'll have access. Of course, only if you prove yourselves worthy of it.
Alfred grinned.
Oh, don't worry about that. Tadia, who had been silent so far, let out a small chuckle. You're going to have a hard time keeping this one out of the training grounds, Ren. The dean sighed but didn't argue. Come. Let's move on. They left the training grounds, walking through another set of reinforced doors into a sleek, modern-looking facility. The walls pulsed faintly with blue energy lines, and the air felt charged, almost alive. At the center of the room stood a massive evaluation machine, if it could even be called that. It was a towering structure, almost reaching the ceiling, with multiple layers of scanning devices, reinforced plates, and an interface that flickered with rows of cryptic data. Thick cables ran along the floor, feeding power into the machine like veins into a heart. A smaller platform stood before it, likely where students would step for their assessment. To the side, a secondary device looked like a combat testing unit, equipped with shifting dummies, force measurement sensors, and even what appeared to be a miniature holographic battlefield. "All right," the dean said, turning to face them. "This is where we finalize your registration. First, we scan your abilities and ranks. Then you'll have a sparring match to determine your placement." Alfred's grin only widened. "Now we're talking." Chapter 30, Sparring 1. The room buzzed with faint mechanical hums as the evaluation machine powered up, its interface flickering with cascading lines of data. Alfred practically bounced onto the platform first, unable to hide his excitement. "All right, let's see what I've got," he grinned. The machine whirred to life, scanning him from head to toe. A holographic display materialized above, showcasing his abilities.
Name, Alfred Dark.
Ability, Fire Manipulation. Rank? A hush fell over the room. The faculty members exchanged uncertain glances, while Dean Wren's expression hardened. The usual rankings, E, D, C, B, A, or even S, were nowhere to be seen. Instead, just a set of question marks. Gloria gave a low whistle, folding her arms with an amused smirk. "Well, that's interesting."
Alfred blinked.
"Huh? What's with the question marks?" "Step down," the dean said, his voice unreadable. "Arya, you're next." Arya hesitated but stepped forward, her cool demeanor unwavering. The machine activated once again, scanning her in a flash of blue light. Name, Arya Dark. Ability, Ice Manipulation. Rank? Another silence. Adam raised an eyebrow, glancing at his sister. Arya felt his gaze and frowned. "What?" Before Adam could speak, Tadia exhaled, cutting through the silence. "It's unknown." The dean looked at her sharply. "Unknown. It should have displayed X rank," Tadia continued, her tone calm but firm. At that, the entire room seemed to shift. Dean Wren's eyes widened in disbelief. The faculty members stiffened. X rank. The term wasn't thrown around lightly. In fact, it had only recently resurfaced due to a mysterious event a few days ago. An awakening of some kind that sent ripples through the Academy's most advanced detection systems. If these two kids had something to do with it, the dean swallowed. He had underestimated them greatly. Alfred, oblivious to the weight of the revelation, just crossed his arms. "X rank, huh? Sounds badass." Gloria chuckled. "Oh, it is." Adam, meanwhile, glanced between Gloria and his siblings, then let out a short laugh. "Ah, so that's what happened." Arya, catching on, smirked and chuckled as well. "Took you long enough." Dean Wren was still trying to process everything when Adam casually turned to him. "Hey, mind if I check mine?" The room fell into silence again. The dean looked toward Tadia, searching for confirmation. The president said nothing, only giving a small nod. With that, the dean exhaled and gestured toward the platform. "Go ahead." Adam stepped forward, placing his hand on the scanning pad. The machine lit up, scanning him with an intense glow, brighter than before. Then, beep, beep, beep. The screen flickered violently before stabilizing. Unknown, unknown. The room froze. Even Dean Wren, who had been bracing himself, felt his stomach drop. Gloria let out a slow, impressed whistle. "Well, damn." The machine continued to beep, its interface glitching slightly before stabilizing again. Unknown, unknown. Not even question marks. Just nothing. Dean Wren's fingers twitched at his side, his composed expression cracking for the first time. The faculty members behind him stiffened, some exchanging hushed murmurs. This wasn't normal. Not even X-Rank had caused the machine to react like this. Adam looked at the results, then tilted his head slightly. "Huh, that's new." Arya narrowed her eyes. "What the hell does unknown even mean?" Tadia, arms still crossed, smirked slightly. Exactly what it says.
Alfred whistelt.
Damn, bro, you broke it. Gloria chuckled, shaking her head. Well, that's one way to make an entrance. Adam stepped off the platform, stretching lazily like nothing happened. All right, cool. Guess I'll stay a mystery. The dean, however, wasn't nearly as relaxed. His mind was racing. The X-rank awakening was already a huge deal, but this was something beyond that. It wasn't just a matter of being too powerful for the system to categorize. It was as if the machine itself couldn't comprehend Adam's existence. He turned to Tadia, lowering his voice. What exactly are these kids? Tadia just smiled. Oh, Ren, you'll find out soon enough. That did nothing to ease his nerves. Before he could press further, Alfred clapped his hands together. All right, so we're done with the boring part. Now let's get to the fun stuff. Dean Ren blinked. Fun stuff?
Alfred grinned.
The sparring, obviously. For the first time since entering the room, Ren actually hesitated. Matching these two up against normal students? He wasn't sure if that was going to be a battle or a massacre. Ren, you know I don't have all day. Tadia's voice was sharp, her arms still crossed. A slight frown tugged at her lips as she leaned forward. Also, keep everything that happened here to yourself. Their student IDs will say X-rank, nothing more, nothing less. Got it. The dean swallowed, nodding quickly. Understood. Without another word, he turned on his heel and led them out of the evaluation room. The doors slid open with a soft hiss, and the group stepped back into the academy halls. It wasn't long before they arrived at the training grounds again. But this time, the atmosphere had completely changed. The air buzzed with excitement. A crowd of students gathered around one of the larger arenas, their cheers and shouts echoing through the open space. Inside the ring, two fighters clashed. One sending out a burst of electricity, while the other dodged with inhuman speed, their movements almost a blur. The impact of their attacks sent shockwaves rippling through the floor. But then, silence. The second Dean Ren and President Gloria stepped into view. The entire arena went dead quiet. Students who had been hyped up just moments ago froze mid-cheer. Some turned their heads, their expressions shifting from excitement to confusion, then to curiosity. Whispers started spreading. Wait, why is the president here? And the dean? Did something happen? Who are those guys with them? Arya, Alfred, and Adam walked forward, completely unfazed by the sudden shift in attention. Alfred smirked, glancing around at the wide-eyed students. Damn, we didn't even do anything yet. Gloria chuckled. Give it a minute. Tadia, as usual, looked completely uninterested in the stares. She turned to Ren. All right, let's get this over with. The dean cleared his throat, then looked toward the students in the arena. Time to see how they stack up. Chapter 31. Sparring 2. Dean Ren's voice cut through the murmurs in the arena. You and you, come here. The two students who had been sparring froze mid-motion before quickly running over. They bowed respectfully to the president, who gave them a lazy wave, signaling them to stand straight. I called you here because I want you to spar against them, Ren said, motioning toward Alfred and Arya. The crowd immediately perked up. A spar? Against the newcomers? This was going to be interesting. The two students turned to face their opponents, a mix of nervousness and determination in their eyes. They were clearly younger, first years, maybe second years at best. Arya took one look at them and frowned. Seriously? She crossed her arms. I get that it's just a spar, but aren't they a little too weak? You can do better than this, right? The arena fell into absolute silence. Then, did she just? She called them weak? In front of everyone? Gasps and murmurs rippled through the crowd. Some students looked at each other in shock, while others stared at Arya like she had just declared war. The two chosen students stiffened, their hands clenching into fists. Even Alfred let out a low whistle. Dam, Arya. You're savage. Gloria raised an amused eyebrow, while Dean Ren let out a slow sigh. You really don't hold back, do you? The dean muttered. Arya shrugged. I'm just being honest. The two students, now visibly frustrated, stepped forward, their previous nervousness replaced with something else. "We're not weak," one of them snapped. "Yeah," the other added, eyes burning with resolve. "We'll prove it to you." A smirk tugged at the corner of Arya's lips. "That's more like it," she said, stepping into the ring. Alfred grinned, cracking his knuckles. "All right then, let's have some fun." The energy in the arena shifted. This wasn't just a simple spar anymore. This was a challenge. The arena buzzed with anticipation as Arya and Alfred stepped into the ring. The two students, one boy and one girl, followed, their eyes locked on Arya. Alfred rolled his shoulders, ready to fight, but before he could take a stance, Arya raised a hand. "Sit this one out," she said, glancing at him. "I got this." Alfred blinked, then smirked. "Confident, huh? All right, I'll just enjoy the show." He leaned back against the edge of the ring, hands in his pockets. The two students looked at each other, then back at Arya. "You're fighting both of us alone?" the boy asked. Arya stretched her arms, completely relaxed. "Yeah, no abilities either, just pure strength." That sent another wave of murmurs through the crowd.
No abilities.
"Is she crazy? Does she think she can just overpower them?" The girl scoffed. "Fine, if that's how you want to play it." The two students rushed forward at the same time. The boy lunged low, aiming for Arya's legs, while the girl went high, trying to land a punch to her face. But Arya didn't even flinch. With a single step to the side, she avoided the boy's tackle entirely. Then, without even looking, she grabbed the girl's wrist midair and slammed her into the ground. Boom! A cloud of dust exploded as the girl crashed, coughing in shock. The boy barely had time to react before Arya turned and kicked him in the chest. Not even at full strength, but hard enough to send him skidding across the ring. The crowd gasped. "What the hell? She's that strong without abilities?" The girl groaned, getting up and wiping the dirt off her face. The boy clutched his ribs, eyes wide with disbelief. "Okay, screw this," the girl muttered. "We're using our abilities." The boy nodded, gritting his teeth. "Yeah, no way we're fighting fair against that." Arya cracked her knuckles, a lazy grin on her face. "Oh? Changing the rules already?" The air around the two students shifted. The girl stepped forward, her hands glowing a deep violet as thin, razor-sharp wires extended from her fingertips, shimmering in the light. "Hope you like being cut to pieces," she said, flicking her wrist. The boy stomped the ground, and immediately, spikes of earth shot up from beneath Arya, aiming to impale her. The crowd exploded with cheers. "Here we go. They're using their real skills now." But Arya? She just grinned. "Oh, now we are talking." The ground beneath Arya cracked as jagged spikes of earth shot toward her. At the same time, the girl's razor-thin wires lashed through the air, slicing toward her like whips. The arena held its breath. But Arya? She vanished, a blur of movement. Then suddenly, she was behind them. Bang! Before the boy could react, Arya slammed her fist into his gut. His eyes widened as all the air in his lungs was forced out in an instant. He barely had time to gag before he was launched backward, tumbling across the arena. The girl's eyes widened in shock, but she gritted her teeth and flicked her fingers, her wires shifting direction mid-air. They coiled around Arya's limbs, tightening like steel restraints. "Got you," she smirked. The crowd leaned forward, but Arya just glanced down at the wires wrapped around her arms and legs. Then, snap, she flexed. The wires shattered. The girl barely had time to register what happened before Arya closed the distance. Crack! A brutal roundhouse kick caught her in the ribs. Her body twisted midair before she crashed to the ground, coughing violently. The crowd erupted. "Holy shit! She's a monster!" The boy groaned as he struggled to stand, wiping blood from the corner of his mouth. His expression was no longer just determination. There was real fear in his eyes. The girl gritted her teeth, pushing herself up on shaky arms. Damn it. Arya tilted her head, still completely relaxed. So, what now? She asked, voice filled with amusement. Gonna keep going? Or have you had enough? The two students looked at each other. Then, they both lunged forward together. The boy's hands glowed brown as the earth beneath him cracked apart, shifting unnaturally. Then, in an instant, a giant rock golem burst from the ground, towering over Arya. At the same time, the girl's violet aura surged as her wires turned into blades, dozens of them hovering in the air, all aimed at Arya. The crowd went wild. They're going all out. That's a Tier 3 Earth construct. They might actually push her back. But Arya just exhaled, rolling her shoulders. All right, she muttered. Guess I'll put in a little effort now. And then, she disappeared. Chapter 32, Sparring 3. The moment Arya vanished, the air itself seemed to shatter. Boom! A sonic shockwave exploded outward from where she had stood, sending dust and debris flying in all directions. The rock golem's glowing eyes barely had time to register the movement before. Crack! A fist smashed straight through its chest. Chunks of stone erupted from the impact as Arya's hand tore through solid rock like it was paper. The golem let out a guttural roar, stumbling back, but before it could react, bang! Arya flipped backward and kicked its head clean off. The massive stone head spiraled through the air before smashing into the arena wall, embedding itself deep into the structure. The entire arena went silent for half a second. Then, what the hell? The crowd erupted in disbelief. The boy, who had been controlling the golem, stumbled backward, his face pale. His connection to the construct had been severed instantly. But before he could even think of a backup plan, whoosh! Arya was already in front of him. Wah! She grabbed his collar and lifted him off the ground with one hand. His legs kicked uselessly in the air. You sure you want to keep going? She asked casually, tilting her head. The boy's eyes darted toward his partner. Jade! SHRRKKK. The air was already screaming. Jade had sent all her blades flying at once, a storm of razor-sharp violet energy whistling through the air toward Arya. There was no way to dodge them all. Arya didn't even try. She let them hit. Clang, clang, clang. The blades snapped on impact. Not a scratch. Jade froze, her mouth slightly open. What? Arya grinned. My turn. She threw the boy. Not with force, just enough for him to land a few feet away, rolling to a stop. But the instant he hit the ground, she was already moving toward Jade. Whoosh! Arya's figure blurred. One moment she was standing still, the next she was right in front of Jade. The girl barely had time to react. Bam! A knee slammed into her stomach. Jade's body folded inward as all the air in her lungs escaped at once. Her vision blurred. She couldn't even process what just happened before she was already flying. Boom! She crashed into the arena floor, a deep crater forming where she landed. The crowd lost it. Holy shit. That's not normal. No way that's normal. She just... The boy shakily got back to his feet, looking at Jade, then at Arya, then back at Jade. Arya turned to him, rolling her shoulders. "Want to keep going?" she asked. The boy opened his mouth, then closed it. He looked at Jade, still groaning in the crater. He looked at the rock golem's head, embedded in the arena wall. He swallowed hard. "No, I'm good." Arya clapped her hands together, stretching. "Phew, that was fun." Jade groaned from the ground. "Fun for who?" she muttered. Dean Wren sighed heavily. "All right, I think we've seen enough." The crowd erupted into cheers. Arya stretched her arms over her head, cracking her neck. "So, who's next?" she grinned. Silence. Not a single person stepped forward.
Alfred Wistelt.
"Yeah, I figured." He gave Arya a thumbs up. "That was badass." Arya just smirked, looking around at the stunned faces in the crowd. This school was going to be fun. Tadia stared at the little girl in the ring, eyes wide with disbelief. "Wait, I thought she hated physical stuff? Wasn't she always buried in books? She asked, turning to Adam. Adam let out a low chuckle, rubbing the back of his head. Yeah, I thought so too. But now it all made sense. He glanced at Arya, who was stretching her arms like she hadn't just wiped the floor with 2 students. The way she moved, the sheer power behind her strikes. There was no way this was just normal training. Adam sighed, already piecing it together. She must have raided my stash. Tadia blinked. Huh. Adam shook his head, smirking. I had some leftover cores and fruits in my room. She must have found them and helped herself. He glanced toward the edge of the arena, spotting Alfred and Gloria watching with suspiciously amused expressions. Yeah. And judging by their faces, they got in on it too. Tadia slowly turned back to Arya, who was now casually challenging the entire arena with a grin. That little monster, she muttered, watching her granddaughter challenge everyone. Tadia couldn't help but feel a swell of pride. It reminded her of her younger days. Fearless, untouchable. But now her eyes shifted to her grandson. She wanted to see what he could do. Without taking her eyes off Alfred, she spoke, her voice calm but firm. Ren, bring him a challenger. Someone from the upper years. Her face was unreadable, but Ren wasn't fooled. He knew that beneath that cool exterior, Tadia was buzzing with excitement. She wanted her grandchildren to shine. Ren smirked, rubbing his chin. An upper year, huh? All right then. He turned to the gathered students, scanning the crowd. Listen up. Who among you seniors is brave enough to take on Alfred? A wave of murmurs spread through the arena. Some of the upper year students looked hesitant, eyes flicking toward Alfred, who stood there with his hands in his pockets, looking completely unfazed. Then, I'll do it. A tall figure stepped forward. He had a lean, muscular build, sharp golden eyes, and a confident smirk. His uniform was slightly unbuttoned, sleeves rolled up like he couldn't be bothered with rules. Senior Kane, someone whispered in the crowd. He's a 4th year, one of the strongest in the academy. The moment Kane stepped into the ring, the atmosphere shifted. Even Arya, Alfred, on the other hand, just grinned. Not bad, he said, rolling his shoulders. I was hoping for someone interesting. Kane cracked his knuckles. I don't hold back. Hope you can keep up, Junior. The crowd erupted with cheers as the fight was about to begin. Chapter 33, End of Spar. Academy Arena, the showdown begins. Kane rolled his shoulders, a slow smirk forming. All right, Junior. Let's see what you got. Alfred yawned, cracking his knuckles. You talk too much. The referee raised his hand. Match begin. Whoosh. Kane vanished. In an instant, he was behind Alfred, his fist already mid-swing. Bam! Alfred tilted his head just in time, Kane's punch grazing his cheek before boom. A shockwave shattered the ground where Alfred had been standing. But Alfred was already gone. Whoosh! He reappeared a few feet away, grinning. Not bad. Fast hands. Kane smirked. Fast enough to end this quick. His body crackled with golden lightning, arcs of energy dancing around him. His movements blurred as he launched forward, fists coated in raw electricity. S-rank ability, Storm King's Blitz. Crack. Kane's first punch shattered the air. Alfred sidestepped. The second punch curved like a whip. Alfred ducked. A flurry of lightning-coated blows rained down, each one carrying the force of a storm. Bang! 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 Alfred weaved through the strikes with terrifying ease, his body barely shifting as Kane's fists tore into the ground, leaving deep craters. You dodging all day? Kane taunted, fists sparking.
Alfred grinned.
Just warming up. Then, he stepped forward. Kane swung but missed. Alfred ducked under the punch, twisting his body mid-motion. His elbow snapped forward. Bam! Kane barely got his arms up in time, skidding back from the impact. The crowd gasped. Did he just counter Kane's attack? Kane clicked his tongue, shaking his arms. Not bad, Junior.
Alfred smirked.
I told you. Fast hands. Cain exhaled, his aura flaring. Fine. No more playing around. His foot slammed into the ground, boom! And suddenly, golden lightning flooded the arena. The air hummed, sparks crackling against the ground. Storm King's domain. The temperature dropped. The sky above them twisted, dark clouds forming in an instant. Static clung to everything, making hair stand on end. Arya whistled from the sidelines. Oh, now it's getting serious. Tadia nodded approvingly. S-rank abilities are no joke. Let's see how Alfred handles it. Cain's golden eyes glowed, and in the next instant, crash, a bolt of lightning as thick as a tree slammed into the ground where Alfred stood. The explosion sent debris flying, dust engulfing the arena. The crowd went wild. Did he? Before they could finish the thought. Whoosh! Alfred walked out of the smoke, unscathed, hands still in his pockets. The audience fell silent. Cain blinked. What?
Alfred Zeit.
That all? Then he vanished. What? Cain barely had time to react before. Bang! A knee slammed into his gut. Cain's eyes widened. He felt the air ripped from his lungs. His entire body bent forward, and before he could process it, boom! A second kick sent him flying across the arena, tumbling like a ragdoll before he caught himself, skidding to a stop. The entire crowd was stunned. Alfred stood there, still looking bored. Cain coughed, wiping his mouth. You got some power, huh? Alfred cracked his neck. You don't say. Cain grinned. All right then. Time to get serious. His aura exploded. Lightning coiled around him like living serpents. The air rumbled, the arena itself shaking under the sheer force of his power.
Alfred lifted an Eyebrow.
Cain raised his fist to the sky. Storm King's judgment. A massive lightning spear formed above him, crackling with energy that could vaporize a small mountain. The air warped, pressure crushing down on the arena. The students gasped in awe. That's too much power.
Alfred exhaled.
Fine. I'll stop messing around. He raised one hand. A small flame flickered to life. Cain frowned. That's your counter? Alfred just smirked. The flame condensed. Then it shrank. It became smaller, denser, until it looked like a tiny, shimmering ember floating in his palm. But the temperature in the arena skyrocketed. Cain's eyes widened. What the hell? Alfred's voice was calm. Try blocking this. He flicked the ember forward. At first, it looked harmless. Just a tiny flame drifting through the air. But then, boom! A blinding explosion erupted, swallowing everything in an instant. The sheer heat melted the ground, a shockwave tearing through the arena. Cain disappeared in the explosion. The storm above? Gone. The entire arena fell into dead silence. When the dust settled, Cain was lying in a massive crater. His uniform was burned, his entire body twitching. He was still conscious, but just barely.
Alfred yawned.
You done? Cain groaned, raising a shaky hand. Yeah, I'm done. The crowd erupted. What the hell was that? He beat an S-rank ability like it was nothing. Who the hell is this guy? Ren chuckled. Guess we got our answer. Tadia smiled proudly. Just as expected. Alfred stretched, looking around at the stunned faces. He sighed. Man, you guys are weak. The students flinched. Alfred stuffed his hands back in his pockets, looking over at Arya. You good. Arya grinned. That was sick. We should spar later.
Alfred smirked.
You'll lose. Arya rolled her eyes. We'll see. The match was over. But one thing was clear. The new generation of this academy was on a whole different level. The crowd was still buzzing. Some students whispered in disbelief. Others just stared at Alfred like he wasn't human. Even the instructors exchanged glances, as if questioning what kind of monsters they had just let into their academy. Ren, standing off to the side, slowly exhaled. His sharp eyes swept over the kids. Alfred, hands in his pockets like he hadn't just flattened an S-rank opponent. Arya, grinning like she just watched a good fight instead of witnessing absolute destruction. And then his gaze landed on Adam. The guy was standing near the academy president, hands casually tucked into his pockets, looking as uninterested as ever. Behind him, Gloria stood quietly, her presence subdued but still commanding in its own way. Ren felt a chill crawl up his spine. If his siblings were this freakishly strong, then just how terrifying is he? He clicked his tongue. Damn monsters. Nearby, Kane groaned as medics rushed to check on him. His pride was probably more broken than his body. The president clapped his hands once, drawing everyone's attention. Well then, with that, their registration is officially complete. His voice was calm, but there was a slight edge of amusement, like he just watched something absurd and was still processing it. An instructor stepped forward, handing over 2 sleek, black student IDs.
Alfred.
Arya, welcome to the academy. Alfred took his without a word, barely glancing at it before slipping it into his pocket. Arya, on the other hand, smirked. Cool. She flipped hers between her fingers before tucking it away. The formalities were done. But the entire academy knew this year's students weren't normal. Chapter 34. Who are you? The dean led Adam, Alfred, Arya, and Sarah through the academy grounds, past the main dormitories, and toward a secluded area. The path was lined with sleek, glowing lampposts, casting a soft blue light over the pavement. It was quiet here, away from the noisy students still buzzing over the earlier match. The president and Gloria had already left. Something about handling presidential matters before the president practically dragged her off. That left just the 4 of them. Finally, they stopped in front of a 2-story building.
No, mansión.
Alfred raised an eyebrow. This is supposed to be our apartment? Arya let out a low whistle. Damn, they're really spoiling us, huh? The dean chuckled. Consider it a necessity. You 2 aren't exactly normal students. The academy prefers its special cases to have a special living space. Adam, hands in his pockets, didn't react much, just gave the mansion a passing glance before walking toward the entrance. The front doors slid open automatically as they stepped inside. And that's when they stopped. 'Cause holy shit, the interior was straight out of a high-budget sci-fi anime. Inside the mansion, the living room stretched high, with sleek black floors that reflected the soft white and blue lights embedded into the ceiling. A massive hollow screen hung on the wall, flickering to life the moment they stepped in. The furniture was modern, yet absurdly comfortable looking. Wide sofas with built-in temperature control, a glass coffee table that hovered slightly above the ground, and a fireplace that wasn't real fire but pure energy. The walls had an adaptive lighting system, subtly shifting based on movement. The entire aesthetic was futuristic yet cozy, balancing high-tech with comfort. Then came the voice. Welcome, residents. I am Aura, your in-house AI assistant. How may I be of service? A soft, feminine voice echoed through the space.
Alfred blinked.
We got an AI butler? Arya grinned. Now that's cool. Sarah, completely unfazed, strolled further in. It's standard for high-ranking academy quarters. The others followed, exploring more of the mansion. The kitchen was sleek, equipped with an auto-cooking station, a food synthesizer, and an interactive recipe assistant. The training room was insane. The walls could transform into holographic battlefields, and the floor could simulate different terrains. There was even a gravity adjustment system for resistance training. The library wasn't just books. It had a digital archive with instant data retrieval, along with an entire holographic interface for studying. Each of their bedrooms was massive, customized to their preferences the moment they walked in. The AI had already adjusted the layout based on their previous records. Alfred's room? A mix of modern and classic with a built-in combat simulator on the side. Areas? Sleek, but with a personalized music system, a weapons display, and, of course, a massive bed she could just flop onto. They regrouped in the main living area. Alfred plopped onto the couch, sinking into the absurd comfort. Okay, yeah, I could get used to this. Arya spun around once before stretching. Aura. Dim the lights a bit.
Adjusting ambient lighting.
The room's glow softened instantly. Adam, still standing, glanced toward the dean. You done here? The dean smirked. Yeah. Just making sure you settle in before I go. He turned to leave but paused. Oh, and don't break the place. The repairs are expensive.
Alfred grint. No promises.
The dean sighed, muttering something under his breath before finally walking out. The moment he was gone, there was a brief silence. Then Alfred stretched, cracking his neck. So what now? Aria grind. We test everything. Adam chuckled. Watching his siblings rummage through the stash he had definitely not hidden well enough. He leaned against the wall, arms crossed, amusement dancing in his eyes. So, you little brats found my secret stash, huh? He smirked. Well, I was gonna give it to you anyway. So, Aria, how'd you find it? Aria puffed up, ready to take all the credit. But, it wasn't exactly hidden. Alfred cut in, completely hijacking the moment. With Aunt Gloria's help, Aria and I found it pretty easily. At first, we thought it was just regular fruit, but when we ate it, we felt a surge of power rush through us. That's when we realized what it really was. Aria snapped her head toward him, scowling. Blabbermouth. I was the one asked, not you. Alfred just grinned, sticking out his tongue. Aria's scowl deepened. She huffed, arms crossed. Well, even though we got stronger, we didn't exactly become prettier. And in his case, more handsome. She jabbed a thumb at Alfred.
Adam snorted.
Yeah, that part was in a different batch. Already used up. With a flick of his wrist, for vials appeared in their hands, swirling with an iridescent glow. This is what made me look like this. The moment the words left his mouth. Whoosh! Aria and Alfred vanished, bolting to their rooms at top speed. Adam barely stifled his laugh. That got their attention. Hey! By the time you come out, I'll be gone, he called out, but they didn't even acknowledge him. The doors had already slammed shut behind them. Adam shook his head, chuckling. Then he turned and found Sarah staring at him, head tilted slightly, brows furrowed, like she was studying him. He blinked. What's with that look? Sarah narrowed her eyes, arms crossed. I thought your ability had something to do with technopathy and physical enhancement. So what the hell was that just now? She wasn't buying it. Pulling things out of thin air? That wasn't a spatial ability, she'd know. Her own powers were space-related, and if Adam had used anything even remotely close to it, she would have felt the fluctuations. But she hadn't. Not even a whisper. Adam just smiled, mysterious, unreadable, the kind that made her itch for answers. Then he turned and walked out. Oi, seriously? She scoffed, watching him go. He wasn't gonna explain a damn thing, was he? Typical. Fine. Keep your secrets, she muttered, shoving her hands into her jacket pockets. But just so you know, if I could track you and your siblings down, I will figure out what you're hiding. And with that, she followed him outside, only to stop dead in her tracks. Someone was standing at the mansion gate, tall, relaxed, hands in his pockets, watching Adam with an expression that was way too calm for her liking. And who the hell are you and what do you want? Chapter 35, Aurora. And who the hell are you and what do you want? Adam stopped, his gaze settling on the guy blocking his path. He wasn't a fan of people standing in his way. And you are? He asked, voice calm but clearly not in the mood. The guy smirked. Name's Jordan, second strongest in the rankings. I'm here to challenge you. Adam raised a brow. Challenge me? Seriously? This again? Oi! You do know I'm not in the academy, right? Adam said, already losing interest. I just came to get my siblings settled. I'm not here for your little ranking games. So, he stepped forward, ready to walk past, but Jordan's hand clamped down on his shoulder. That was a mistake. Adam stopped mid-step. His expression darkened as his gaze flicked to Jordan's hand. Let go. His voice was low, dangerous. Sarah, standing off to the side, tensed. Jordan didn't move. Or what? He challenged, smirking. Adam exhaled through his nose. You don't want to find out. Jordan chuckled, his grip tightening ever so slightly. You talk big, but I don't see you doing anything. Adam tilted his head, his expression unreadable. Then, crack. Jordan barely registered what happened before he found himself hurtling backward, smashing into the mansion's outer wall. Dust and debris flew everywhere as the impact left a deep crater in the reinforced concrete. Silence. Sarah's eyes widened. Damn! Jordan groaned, stumbling to his feet. What the hell was that? He looked at his arm, which was shaking uncontrollably from the force of Adam's counter. You didn't even use an ability. Adam rolled his shoulder lazily, like he had just swatted away an annoying fly. I told you to let go. His gaze locked onto Jordan, sharp and unimpressed. Next time, listen. Jordan grit his teeth. His pride wouldn't let him back down so easily. TCH. Fine. Looks like I'll just have to make you take me seriously. In an instant, his aura exploded outward, the sheer force cracking the ground beneath him. Sparks of energy danced around his body, his muscles tensing as he got into stance. Get ready, Adam. I'm coming at you for real this time.
Adam siket.
Man, why do they always say that before losing? Jordan slammed his foot into the ground, his aura flaring like a wildfire. The air around him twisted and distorted as black lightning crackled across his skin. SS rank ability, Static Overdrive. Sarah's eyes widened. TSK. That's trouble. Jordan grinned, electricity surging from his fingertips. You're not gonna walk away from this one so easily, Adam. Boom! In an instant, Jordan vanished. A deafening crack of thunder followed as he reappeared inches from Adam, his fist wreathed in black lightning. Adam barely tilted his head as Jordan's punch shattered the space where his face had been. The sheer force of the blow sent a shockwave ripping through the ground, carving a deep trench behind him. Jordan grinned. Fast enough for you? Adam raised an eyebrow. Not bad, but... His hand blurred. Before Jordan could even react, Adam's palm slammed into his chest like a cannon, sending him rocketing backward. His body skipped across the courtyard like a stone on water before he flipped mid-air, landing on his feet, skidding to a stop. Damn! Jordan muttered, rubbing his chest. That actually hurt. Without hesitation, he raised his hands. Black lightning erupted around him, lashing out in all directions. The ground beneath him melted into glass from the sheer heat. All right, no more playing around. He clapped his hands together, and suddenly, everything went silent. The lightning around him condensed, shrinking into thin, glowing lines that traced across his skin. His pupils flickered with raw power. Sarah's expression hardened. Here it comes. Jordan vanished again. This time, Adam didn't move. The next second, boom, 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 boom. Jordan's attacks came in a flurry. Punches, kicks, elbow strikes, each one faster than the last, coated in black lightning, warping the air itself. He struck from every angle, his speed transcendent. To anyone watching, it looked like Adam was getting overwhelmed. Except, none of the hits landed. Adam dodged everything. No wasted movement, no excess effort. Every strike from Jordan missed by a hair's breadth. And then, Adam stepped in. A single palm strike. Jordan's vision blurred. A force like an entire mountain crashed into his stomach. His breath vanished. The next thing he knew, he was soaring through the sky. What? Adam appeared above him. A flicker of amusement crossed his face. This has been fun. Jordan's eyes widened. Wait! Adam's fist dropped. Boom! The impact sent Jordan crashing into the ground, the sheer force carving out a massive crater. The entire mansion trembled from the shockwave. Silence. Dust and debris settled. Sarah exhaled. Welp, that's over. Adam landed lightly at the edge of the crater, hands in his pockets. He looked down at Jordan, who lay there, gasping for air, unable to move. Told you.
Adam simirket.
They always say that before losing. Jordan lay in the crater, his body twitching from the residual electricity still crackling around him. His vision blurred, lungs burning as he struggled to move. What the hell was that? Adam stood at the edge, hands still in his pockets, gazing down with the same unimpressed look. You done? Or do you want to go another round? Jordan gritted his teeth. His pride screamed at him to keep going, but his body refused to move. Tsage. He exhaled sharply, staring up at the night sky. Guess not. Sarah walked up beside Adam, peering down at the defeated fighter. Damn. He really thought he stood a chance.
Adam çaklet.
They always do. Jordan clenched.
Adam şuruk.
You're not the first to say that. Jordan let out a weak laugh before groaning. Damn. I can't even stand. Then stay down. Adam turned away. Next time, pick your fights wisely. Jordan could only watch as Adam walked off, Sarah following behind. The weight of defeat settled on him, heavier than any wound he had taken. Second strongest, huh? He scoffed at himself. What a joke! Perched on the rooftop overlooking the battlefield, two figures watched the one-sided fight unfold. The blonde-haired girl leaned against the railing, her golden locks shimmering under the moonlight, a playful smirk tugging at her lips. Well, that was underwhelming. She tilted her head, her piercing blue eyes flickering with amusement as she turned to the girl beside her. What do you think, Aurora? After all, he just humiliated your second. Aurora didn't respond immediately. She stood there, arms crossed, her gaze locked onto Adam as he walked away. She was breathtaking, long, flowing black hair that cascaded down her back like silk, strands catching the light with a soft shimmer. Her skin was flawless, radiant even under the dim glow of the night. Her violet eyes, deep and enigmatic, held a quiet intensity, as if they saw through everything and cared for none of it. A delicate face, neither cold nor warm, just unreadable, like a masterpiece painted in shades of mystery. Finally, she spoke, voice calm and indifferent. I think he's cool. And just like that, she turned and walked away, her heels clicking softly against the rooftop tiles, as if what just happened barely registered as anything worth her time. The blonde girl blinked. That's it. She let out a small laugh. You're impossible, Aurora. But Aurora was already gone, disappearing into the night like a phantom, leaving nothing but her lingering presence. Mysterious, untouchable, and endlessly captivating. Chapter 36. They are just kids. All the preparations are in place, mistress, Anya reported, her voice steady, but there was a slight tension in her posture. Celine leaned back in her chair, a wicked grin spreading across her lips. Good. Now we just wait for him to walk into the trap, and then he's ours. Anya swallowed hard. That smile, it sent a chill down her spine. For a brief moment, she almost felt bad for the poor guy they were targeting. Almost. Then something clicked in her memory, something she saw on the news earlier. Mistress, there's something else. It's about the president. Celine's smirk faded. Her gaze sharpened as she turned to Anya. What about the president? Anya pressed a few buttons on her tablet, then handed it over. You're going to want to see this. Celine's eyes flickered across the screen. The headline was bold and unavoidable. Breaking. Westward Academy student confirmed as president's grandson? Below it, a photo. Adam, casually stepping out of Westward Academy. Sarah right behind him. Celine's fingers tightened around the tablet. So, he's her grandson, she muttered. That meant, her eyes narrowed. He's their son. Raphael and Freya, the strongest superhumans. The names alone carried weight. And now their son was in her crosshairs. That's not all, Anya continued. Check the next slide. Celine swiped to the next page, and her brow arched slightly. Footage played, Arya and Alfred inside the Academy's arena, effortlessly tearing through their opponents like it was child's play. Then Adam, completely humiliating Jordan without even trying. According to sources inside the Academy, Anya added, all three of them are freakishly strong. And the craziest part? They haven't even used their abilities yet. It's all been raw physical strength. Celine stared at the screen, her expression unreadable. Then, slowly, that wicked grin returned. Well, looks like we caught something far more interesting than we expected. The dark estate. Frantic footsteps echoed through the grand halls of the dark estate as a woman in her 30s sprinted like a madwoman. Her breath was ragged, but she didn't slow down, not even for a second. She reached the heavy double doors of the family hall and shoved them open without hesitation. Bang! The doors slammed against the walls, silencing the room. Inside, the highest-ranking members of the Dark family sat around a long table, deep in discussion. Every head turned toward her, their expressions darkening at the interruption. Franklin Dark, the patriarch, sat at the head of the table. His piercing gaze locked onto the intruder, his daughter Madeline. "What is so urgent that you couldn't wait until the meeting was over?" Franklin's voice was low, calm, but there was a hint of curiosity in his eyes. He knew Madeline too well. No matter how stubborn and rebellious she wasn't reckless. If she barged in like this, it had to be serious. Madeline barely took a second to catch her breath before shoving a tablet into her father's hands. "I think I found traces of Freya." The room went still. Franklin's fingers tightened around the tablet at the mention of his eldest daughter, the one who left, the one he never stopped searching for. His sharp eyes scanned the screen. The headline hit him first. Westward Academy student confirmed as president's grandson? Then, the image. A young man, Adam, stepping out of the academy. Franklin's grip on the tablet trembled slightly. Not because of the boy, but because of the faces of the twins beside him. They had Freya's eyes. His heart pounded. His daughter. She was alive. And she had a family. For the first time in decades, Franklin Dark felt something he thought he had long buried: hope. Franklin's sharp eyes stayed locked on the screen, scanning every detail. Adam, the young man in the photo, had a strong presence, an air of confidence that reminded him of someone. But it was the twins that sealed it. The same eyes, the same shape of the face. There was no mistake. Where was this taken? Franklin finally spoke. His voice steady but laced with an emotion none in the room had ever heard from him before. Madeline, still catching her breath, pointed at the tablet. Westward Academy. The media's been covering them nonstop ever since that fight with the ranking guy, Jordan. The rumors started when the president didn't refute the claims that Adam is her grandson. Franklin exhaled slowly, his fingers tapping against the polished wood of the table. His mind was already racing. If this is true. His gaze lifted, scanning the faces of the family elders. Then Freya's children have been living in the spotlight, and we never even knew. One of the elders, an older man with sharp features, scoffed. If they are truly her children, why did she never come back? Franklin's eyes darkened. That is not the question we should be asking. A cold silence filled the room. Madeline bit her lip. There's more. She swiped the screen, showing footage of Adam's fights. They've only been using physical strength so far, and they're already stronger than most elites. If they start using their real abilities. Franklin watched as Adam crushed Jordan with little effort, then Arya and Alfred effortlessly destroying their opponents. A small, rare smile tugged at the corner of his lips. Freakishly strong, Madeline muttered, crossing her arms. It's almost scary. Franklin leaned back in his chair, silent for a long moment. Then his voice came quiet but firm. Prepare a team. We're going to Westward. Madeline's eyes widened. You're going personally? Franklin stood, his presence alone enough to make the air in the room feel heavier. Freya is my daughter, and those kids are my grandchildren. He turned toward the exit, his voice carrying the weight of absolute authority. It's time the Dark family reunites. The news spread like wildfire. Every major family, every powerful organization, none of them could ignore it. The children of Raphael and Freya had been found. Speculation ran rampant. What did this mean? Would the legendary power couple finally step out of the shadows? Or would they remain ghosts of the past while their children shook the world in their place? And then there was the bigger issue, the Dark family and the president. Those two never saw eye to eye before. They sure as hell wouldn't start now. Tension was brewing. Everyone knew it. Something big was coming. Elsewhere, a dimly lit room. A single glass clinked against ice. A man sat in the darkness, whiskey in hand, eyes locked on the screen before him. The glow illuminated his silhouette, but his features remained unseen. Only his voice carried through the room. Low, amused. So, he has kids. Interesting. Behind him, a woman stood with arms crossed, her tone sharp with concern. What are you going to do about them, Wraith? Those kids are a problem. We're talking about 3 X-rank superhumans here. The man, Wraith, took another sip, savoring the burn before setting his glass down. Then slowly he stood. From the shadows, 2 blood-red eyes glowed like a predator's in the dark. We do nothing, he said, voice calm, deliberate. The woman tensed. Nothing? Wraith's gaze flicked back to the massive screen on the wall.
Adam.
Alfred.
Arya. Their faces were displayed in high resolution, their recent fights replaying on loop. A slow, eerie smile stretched across his lips. They're just kids. Chapter 37. This is where you fall. On a rooftop. Man, why are we even doing this? Joshua let out a tired sigh, crouching beside Alice on the rooftop. Below them, a group of Reaper Mafia members were gathered, their voices echoing in the night. Alice smirked, resting her chin on her palm. Because, Joshua, what you told me was too good to be true. If you really met someone who could do that, then I need to see it for myself. She stretched lazily before adding, and, well, I don't feel like going home right now. Joshua raised a brow. Why? Found out I suddenly have 3 cousins from a long-lost aunt. My mom's making a huge deal out of it. Wants me to come home and bond or whatever. Alice rolled her eyes. So, obviously, I need a solid excuse to disappear for a while. Joshua gave her a look. Right? I forgot. You're the rebellious child of your big, fancy family. Alice's smirk instantly faded. She turned to him, narrowing her eyes. And when did I ever tell you that? Joshua exhaled, shaking his head. Come on, Alice. Your mom wanted you to attend the prestigious Westward Academy, which, by the way, was your dream, but you refused. Not because you didn't want to go, but because you don't like being told what to do. He glanced down at the street below, already mapping out his escape route. And that's just one of the many stories you've told me. So yeah, I think it's safe to say you're the rebellious one. Alice scoffed, crossing her arms. TCH. It's not rebellious, it's called having standards. Joshua gave her a deadpan look. Standards? Yeah, like, deciding for myself what I want to do instead of getting shoved into some predetermined path. She kicked a loose pebble off the edge of the rooftop, watching it vanish into the shadows below. Westward Academy's great and all, but it stopped being my dream the moment my mom made it her dream. Asterisk. Joshua just shook his head, muttering, yeah, that totally doesn't sound rebellious at all. Before Alice could snap back, a commotion below caught their attention. The Reaper Mafia thugs were moving, forming a circle around someone. Alice's sharp eyes locked onto the scene. Looks like something's about to go down. Asterisk. Joshua peeked over the edge. Do we actually have a plan? Alice grinned. You asking that now? I just want to know if I should start praying. Relax. Alice stood up, stretching like she wasn't about to jump into potential chaos. Worst case scenario? We run. Best case scenario? We get to see something interesting. Joshua sighed, already regretting agreeing to this. Why do I let you drag me into these things? Alice just smirked. Because you'd be bored without me. Below, the Reaper gang members stood in tense silence, their eyes darting around as if expecting trouble to drop from the sky. None of them wanted a repeat of what happened last time. They just wanted to get this deal done and get the hell out. I've got a bad feeling about this, Gretton muttered, shifting uneasily. The last time they were here, things did not go well. Beside him, Ben took a slow drag of his cigarette, exhaling smoke like he had all the time in the world. You worry too much, kid. We've been dealing with the Blackvale Syndicate for years. One little setback isn't enough to cut them off. Yeah, I hear you. Gretton crossed his arms, glancing around the dimly lit lot. I just want to get this over with. A low chuckle echoed through the air. How bold of you, a deep voice rumbled. To think you can cut us off. The audacity amazes me. Heavy footsteps followed, the ground seeming to tremble slightly. A towering figure emerged from the shadows, flanked by several men. His presence alone made the Reaper gang tense up. Drake, one of the physically strongest superhumans in the Blackvale Syndicate. The sigil of Blackvale gleamed on his chest as he stopped a few feet away, his sharp eyes locking onto Ben and Gretton. A smirk played on his lips, but there was nothing friendly about it. Now, Drake cracked his knuckles, his voice calm yet threatening. Shall we talk business? A tense silence fell over the lot as Drake took slow, deliberate steps forward. The Reaper gang members stiffened, instinctively reaching for their weapons, but Ben shot them a sharp look. Not yet. Drake's smirk widened, his towering frame casting a long shadow under the dim streetlights. Relax, boys. We're just here to do business. No need for the hostility, unless you want things to get ugly. Ben flicked the ash from his cigarette, his expression unreadable. We had a deal. Let's just get this over with. With a snap of his fingers, one of the Reapers brought out a reinforced briefcase, setting it on the hood of a sleek black car. The gangsters nearby tensed as the case clicked open, revealing stacks of neatly arranged vials filled with a glowing blue substance. Drake's eyes glinted with interest. Void serum, huh? Looks pure enough. Gretton swallowed hard as one of Blackvale's men stepped forward, producing a sleek black duffel bag and tossing it onto the car with a heavy thud. When Ben unzipped it, stacks of cash and high-grade weapons glinted under the streetlights. Fair trade. Ben nodded, sealing the briefcase. Looks like we're done here. A sudden gust of wind swept through the lot. Before anyone could react, thud, a figure dropped from the rooftop like a phantom, landing with a controlled impact, his long coat billowing dramatically as he straightened up. The air around him seemed to hum with restrained energy, the faint glint of moonlight reflecting off his masked face. Silence. All eyes locked onto him as he slowly lifted his head, his sharp gaze locking onto Drake.
Oi.
Your business might be done, but not with me. His voice was calm, almost lazy, but the weight behind it sent a chill through the Reaper gang. And let's skip the formalities, the masked figure continued, rolling his shoulders. People are here to watch the show this time. Drake narrowed his eyes, finally recognizing the intruder.
TCH, brat.
Clad in all black, Adam exuded an aura of pure confidence, his stance relaxed yet ready for action. Like I said, I'll be raiding every single one of your dealings until I get what I want. For a moment, Drake just stared at him. Then, pfft, ha 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 ha. Laughter erupted from the hulking superhuman as he shook his head. I gotta hand it to you, kid. You really love making these flashy entrances. Then his smirk twisted into something darker. But the truth is, a voice cut in from the shadows. You've just walked into our trap. Adam's head tilted slightly as a woman stepped into the dim light, her heels clicking against the concrete.
Oño.
And behind her, moving like wraiths in the night, were Becca and the elite enforcers of the Blackvale Syndicate. At the same time, the low rumble of footsteps echoed from outside the warehouse. More figures emerged, blocking every exit, trapping Adam inside. Anya's lips curled into a smirk. This is where you fall.
Chapter 38, Alice meets Saddam.
A few minutes before Adam appeared in the midst of the gangs. Oi! What are you two doing on the rooftop? Alice and Joshua froze. A voice smooth, yet sharp, cut through the quiet night like a blade. Slowly they turned. A man stood behind them, cloaked in black, his presence so subtle that neither of them had noticed him until he spoke. Joshua felt his heart skip a beat. Alice, on the other hand, narrowed her eyes. How the hell did he get this close without me noticing? Then, recognition flickered in Joshua's eyes, and Adam tilted his head slightly. Wait, I know you. Adam's gaze locked onto Joshua. You're the cop from last time. What are you still doing here? I figured my little display of strength would have scared you off. Asterisk. Joshua clenched his jaw but said nothing. Adam's eyes shifted to Alice, studying her for a second before speaking again. And you? I don't know you, but from what I see, you're not the type to seek out danger. So why are you here? And more importantly, why'd you drag him along? Alice and Joshua stiffened. They hadn't said a word about how they got here. How do you know that? Alice asked, her mind racing. She tried to place his voice. Had they met before? Adam let out a low chuckle. Simple. He pointed at Joshua. If you were there last time, then there's no way in hell you'd willingly come anywhere near where I'd show up again. That means she brought you. Asterisk. He turned back to Alice, his sharp eyes gleaming under the moonlight. And you? The moment I spoke, you flinched. Not because you recognized me, but because you were trying to figure out whether I'm a good guy or a bad guy. Asterisk. Alice remained silent, feeling her pulse quicken. Even now, you're calculating your chances of making it out alive if things go sideways. But here's the kicker, you're not worried about him dying. You believe he'll make it out, which means one thing. Asterisk. Adam's smirk widened beneath his mask. You're a superhuman. Alice's eyes widened. Joshua turned to her, completely stunned. You're not the time. Alice cut him off, still staring at Adam, mind racing. Who the hell is this guy? Adam exhaled, looking away, scanning the area. Well, don't worry. I'm not here for you. He took a step forward, the air around him shifting. But you should keep him safe. His voice dropped slightly. Things are about to get real messy. Asterisk. Alice followed his gaze. He wasn't just looking at the warehouse, he was sensing something. No, someone. A lot of them. She tensed. We're surrounded. But before she could say another word, whoosh, Adam launched himself off the rooftop, disappearing into the darkness below. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then Joshua turned to Alice, still in shock. You're a superhuman? Alice sighed, rubbing her temples. Yeah. And I'll explain later. Asterisk. Her gaze remained fixed on the spot where Adam had just vanished. But first, I need to know who the hell that guy is. Present time. Adam's eyes swept over the gathered enemies before landing on Becca. He let out a sigh. You're mistaken. His voice was calm, almost bored. You're the ones who are falling. Becca groaned, rubbing her temples. Enough with the talking already. She turned aside. Hey, get that damn artifact ready. Let's beat him up so I can rest before Miss Alexandria calls me back. Asterisk. For once, I agree with the lazy bum. Drake chimed in, cracking his knuckles. I can't wait to smash my fist into his face and rip that mask off. At that moment, Anya gestured toward a young man standing nearby. In his hands was an object, one that pulsed with an eerie, otherworldly glow. It was a jagged crystal, deep crimson in color, like frozen blood. Sharp, vein-like cracks pulsed along its surface, each one leaking a sinister black mist that seemed to twist unnaturally in the air. The very sight of it made the atmosphere feel heavier, as if the air itself was suffocating under its presence. The young man pressed his palm against the artifact and poured his energy into it. Hum! A surge of power erupted outward. The warehouse trembled as its aura expanded, enveloping everything in its grasp.
Adam blinked.
Then he felt it. His abilities gone. Like a switch had been flipped, like a part of him had been cut off. A slow smirk spread across Anya's lips. How do you feel now? Powerless. For a second, Adam was silent. Then, pfft, he chuckled. Then it grew into laughter. And then, he burst into a full-blown, maniacal laugh. Wait, wait! He held his stomach, still laughing. This is your big plan? Seal my abilities and fight me when I'm handicapped? Ha! Asterisk. The room fell into silence, confusion spreading across the faces of the Black Veil elites. Then, Adam stopped laughing. You guys have no idea how wrong you are. He stepped forward, the floor beneath him cracking from the sheer force of his movement. I don't need my abilities to beat you. Asterisk. The air around him shifted. A low, rumbling pressure began to build, like a storm before it explodes. Hell, you don't even know what my abilities are, and you think that can stop me? The ground beneath his feet splintered as his aura surged, rising like a tidal wave before. Boom! The sheer force of it exploded outward. The weaker ones collapsed instantly, their knees slamming into the floor. The others staggered back, eyes wide, unable to believe what they were feeling. Becca clenched her fists. What? She turned to Anya, her voice sharp. I thought you said his ability was boosting his physical strength. So why is he still this strong? Anya's hands tightened into fists. She had thought the same thing. I was wrong. Her gaze locked onto Adam, who stood at the center of it all. Unfazed, unmoved. Just what kind of monster is he? Drake, on the other hand, didn't care. If anything, his blood was boiling. Forget all that. He rolled his shoulders, a wide grin stretching across his face. I just want to break his damn head. Adam's masked face turned toward him. And then, all of you. His voice rang through the warehouse, filled with wild excitement. Come at me. The fight hadn't even started, but the thrill of battle was already making his blood sing. Chapter 39. Drake, Becca and Anya versus Adam. The warehouse fell silent for a split second after Adam's roar. Then, get him! The first wave of minions lunged forward, a dozen in total. Some wielded blades, others had their fists coated in a faint glow of energy. Their movements were fast, faster than any normal human, but to Adam they were sluggish. The first attacker swung a curved dagger at Adam's throat. Sechef. The blade sliced through the air, but Adam tilted his head slightly. The attack missed by a hair. Before the man could react. Crack! Adam's fist sank into his chest. The impact sent him flying backward, crashing into two others behind him. Another minion came in from behind, fists glowing bright orange. Got you! Adam didn't turn. Instead, whoosh! He vanished. The minion's punch met empty air. His eyes widened in panic. Bang! A knee slammed into his stomach from behind. The force lifted him off his feet, his body folding like a rag doll before crashing onto the concrete floor, completely unconscious. The others hesitated for a moment, but then a woman with twin daggers stepped forward. Her body shimmered. Then suddenly, she split into 3 copies of herself. Illusions?
No, clones.
Each one moved independently, surrounding Adam in an instant. Try dodging this? She sneered, all 3 versions of her striking at once. Adam stood still. At the last moment, swoosh, he ducked, his body moving at an unnatural angle. The daggers sliced through empty air. Bam! Adam's palm struck one clone's chest. Instead of bursting like an illusion, it grunted in pain, real body. With a quick spin, Adam kicked her straight into another approaching minion, sending them both tumbling. The last clone barely had time to react before Adam appeared in front of her. He grabbed her face, boom, and slammed her head into the ground, the floor beneath them cracking from the impact. More enemies came at him. Some had fire flickering around their hands, others manipulated shadows that slithered across the ground, but it made no difference. Adam was too fast. Boom, boom, boom. Every punch, every kick, every movement left a shockwave in its wake. Bodies flew in all directions as Adam tore through the minions like a hurricane, not even breaking a sweat. And then, swoosh, a massive shadow loomed behind him. A giant, 7 feet tall, muscles rippling, his skin covered in stone-like armor. His fists crackled with purple energy. That's enough! The giant growled, voice deep and guttural. You might be strong, but let's see how you handle this. He slammed his fist into the ground. Boom! The warehouse trembled. Jagged spikes of earth erupted from the floor, aiming to impale Adam. But Adam,
Top.
he took a single step forward. Whoosh! And disappeared. The giant's eyes darted around in confusion. Bang! Adam reappeared right in front of him, already mid-punch. The blow landed square on his jaw. A deep crack echoed. The giant's head snapped backward. His entire body lifted off the ground for a brief second before crashing down like a collapsing building. Silence. The weaker ones were down. Now only the elites remained. Drake rolled his shoulders, grinning like a madman. Finally, he muttered, stepping forward. Time for some real fun. Beside him, Becca sighed and cracked her knuckles. Guess we're doing this. Anya, however, remained still, watching Adam carefully. Something's off, she thought. He still hasn't used a single ability. Is he really this strong without them? No time for doubts. They had to take him down now. Drake moved first. His body flickered, then he was gone. A second later, bang! His fist connected with Adam's forearm, blocked. But the sheer force sent a shockwave through the air. Drake's grin widened. Not bad. He swung again.
Adam Dotget, Bareli.
For the first time in the fight, he had to actually move instead of just tanking attacks. Drake's speed was no joke. Becca joined in, her hands glowing blue. Water formed around her fingers, hardening into sharp, ice-like claws. She slashed at Adam's side. Shing! The air itself seemed to freeze. Adam twisted his body just in time to avoid being gutted. TCH, these two are good. For the first time, he felt something close to excitement. Boom! Drake's next punch came at his ribs. Adam caught it with both hands, the ground beneath them cracking from the force. Drake pushed harder, his strength monstrous. But Adam pushed back harder. Bang! Drake skidded backward, barely stopping himself. Damn, you really are a freak, he admitted, wiping a trickle of blood from his lips. Before Adam could respond, a chilling sensation crept up his spine.
Onyo.
She was holding the artifact again, channeling its power. Suddenly, whoosh, a dark mist spread across the battlefield. Adam's body stiffened. A suppressive force clamped down on him. Not just his abilities, his entire body felt heavier, slower. Damn.
Onyo Schmierked.
Let's see you fight without your strength. Becca and Drake lunged at him together. Adam braced himself, and the real fight began. Bang! 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 Adam's arms blurred as he blocked Becca's icy slashes and Drake's flaming punches in rapid succession. Each impact sent shockwaves through the air, but Adam's movements were noticeably slower, his reactions dulled. The artifact's suppression was working. Drake's black-flamed fist crashed into Adam's ribs. This time, he felt it. A sharp jolt of pain spread through his torso, but Adam gritted his teeth and countered with an elbow to Drake's jaw. Crack! Drake staggered but didn't fall. Becca took the opening. She weaved around Adam with inhuman agility, her ice claws slashing at his back. A sharp pain shot through him as her attack connected, drawing blood. Adam's mind raced. The suppression wasn't just lowering his strength, it was forcing him to fight on their level. He could still move, still react, but every action took more effort. Every step felt like walking through water. And they knew it. Drake laughed, shaking off the elbow strike. Not so cocky now, huh? Becca smirked. Even monsters have limits. Anya remained in the back, eyes glowing faintly as she focused on the artifact, maintaining its effect.
Adam Ehalet Slowly.
Fine. If he couldn't rely on raw power, he'd just fight smarter. Whoosh! Instead of attacking, Adam suddenly retreated, leaping back with a burst of speed. His feet barely touched the ground before. FWIP. He vanished. Becca's eyes widened. Where? Bang! She never finished. Adam reappeared behind her, his fist already burying itself into her gut. The force lifted her off the ground. Thud! She hit the floor, coughing violently. Drake's fist came at Adam's face. Whoosh! Adam ducked at the last second. His hand shot out, grabbing Drake's wrist. Then he twisted. Pop! Drake screamed as his shoulder dislocated. Adam didn't stop. He yanked Drake forward and drove his knee straight into his chest. Bang! Drake flew back, crashing into a stack of crates. Adam turned, eyes locking onto Anya. Her confidence wavered. Damn! She threw her hands out. Dark tendrils erupted from the artifact, lashing toward Adam. But he was already moving. Whoosh! He closed the distance in an instant, before Anya could react.
Adam grabbet her wrist.
Crack! He crushed it. The artifact tumbled from her grasp. Whoosh! The suppressive mist evaporated instantly. Power surged back into Adam's limbs. He exhaled. Much better. Anya's face twisted in horror. Wait. Bang! Adam knocked her unconscious with a single blow. Silence filled the warehouse. Becca groaned, barely able to move. Drake clutched his dislocated shoulder, glaring at Adam through gritted teeth.
Anya lay motionless.
It was over. Adam rolled his shoulders. Next time, he said, glancing at the defeated trio. Bring more people. Clap, clap, clap. Impressive. Chapter 40. Adam and Celine won. Impressive. Adam turned, his eyes narrowing as he took in the figure before him. His surprise was brief but genuine. It was her. Celine. She stood with effortless grace, a knowing smile on her lips. I must admit, she mused, her gaze sweeping over him. Even with the artifact, you remain untouchable. Impressive. How about this? You join my family, and in return, I'll grant you anything you desire. Adam let out a short chuckle, shaking his head. Tempting, but there's a problem with that offer. He spread his arms wide. I have a score to settle with someone in your family. Celine's smile faltered slightly. But now that I think about it, Adam continued, rolling his shoulders. Maybe it is a little petty. After all, he's just a kid. But I like being petty, especially when it comes to revenge. My sister died that night because of him. And from what I've learned, harming a member of your family means harming you all. So why stop at just one? For the first time, Celine's expression darkened. She searched her memory, trying to recall if anyone in her family had wronged him. And then it clicked. You mean what young Master Mark did? Becca rasped from the ground, slowly pushing herself up. She wiped the blood from her lips and stared at Adam with newfound recognition. Then, you must be Adam Dark.
Adam ehalet şerpli.
He hadn't meant to reveal so much, but emotions had gotten the better of him. I need to get that in check. Reaching up, he pulled off his mask. On the rooftop, Alice's breath hitched. She had suspected, but hearing his name confirmed everything. That's him, she whispered. Joshua, still trying to make sense of the chaos below, frowned. Who? She didn't take her eyes off Adam. The cousin my mother told me about. That explains his strength and everything else. Joshua groaned. I know now's not the time for a deep dive into the whole superhuman thing, but if we survive this, you are explaining everything. Alice didn't reply. She simply watched as Adam stood against Celine, the tension between them thick enough to suffocate. Back to Adam. Celine's lips curled into a smirk. You've grown stronger since the last time I saw you, she admitted. Shame we're standing on opposite sides. Her gaze lingered on him, an unreadable glint in her eyes. Then, as if connecting the final pieces of a puzzle, she let out a soft chuckle. So that's it. You're her brat. Freya and Raphael's son. She tilted her head. No wonder you're this strong. Celine's gaze softened, just slightly, as she regarded Adam. I have no desire to fight you, she said evenly. You're the child of one of my closest friends. That alone is reason enough for me to ask you one last time, to stand down and return the orb. I will handle Mark's punishment personally. I had already intended to do so when I learned of the incident, but then you happened. Her eyes darkened, You disrupted my operations. You took something that belongs to me. Adam chuckled, shaking his head.
Yeah, no.
Mark's punishment? That's mine to handle. And as for the orb, he tilted his head, a smirk playing on his lips. Let's just say I don't trust leaving something that dangerous in your hands. Who knows? I might end up being one of your victims. Celine's expression remained unreadable. So you understand its purpose, she murmured. And judging by your confidence, you know it hasn't been activated yet. That's why you don't fear it. She sighed, shaking her head. Whatever you think I'm planning, you're mistaken. The orb isn't just some tool for destruction. I intend to use it for a greater purpose, something far beyond your comprehension. Adam's smirk didn't waver. Yeah, I'm not buying that, he said flatly. Given your history and everything you've done so far, I'd say the orb is much safer with me. Celine's patience was thinning. She inhaled deeply, exhaled slowly, then fixed Adam with a cold stare. This isn't a game, boy. This is a matter of life and death. Give me the orb while I'm asking nicely, or face the consequences. Adam squared his shoulders, his expression hardening. Like I said, he replied firmly, the orb stays with me. The shadows around Celine stirred, writhing unnaturally as if alive. The air grew heavy with an unseen force. Her eyes locked onto his. Final warning, she said, stretching out her hand. Hand over the orb, or we do this the hard way. Do as she says, Adam, Becca shouted, desperation in her voice. She'll kill you if you don't.
Adam bareli sparet her ağlans.
You're in no position to talk, he said coldly. You chose their side, so don't expect me to listen. Celine sighed, shaking her head. I won't kill you, she said, her tone almost disappointed. Out of respect for your parents. But that doesn't mean I can't break you. I'll find a healer later. Adam's eyes narrowed. His parents? The way she spoke, it was familiar. Too familiar. Then, suddenly, like a sharp sting in his skull, something tried to surface. A memory? A feeling? He couldn't grasp it, like trying to catch smoke with his bare hands. Then she was gone. Before he could react, boom. She was right in front of him. A pale hand shot out, palm open, smashing into his face. The world blurred. The next thing he knew, he was slammed into the ground. Boom! A crater exploded beneath him from the force of the impact. Dust and debris shot into the air. Pain tore through his body, and before he could even groan, schlick! Something pierced his knees, his elbows. Adam gasped, blood spilling from his lips. His own shadows had turned against him, stabbing deep and pinning him in place. Celine stood over him, completely unfazed. Stay down, boy, she said, her voice calm but absolute.